Happy Tuesday, folks. Welcome back to hashtag AskGSM here today. April, what the fuck am I saying? It's July 14, 2026. It is episode, I think that's what I meant to say, episode edition 659 here today. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well, having a great week. It is a busier week than usual over here, usually pretty busy. This week specifically, though, I was at the Basketball Hall of Fame yesterday. I had a long overdue visit there yesterday, which was a lot of fun. I will be at Dynamite tomorrow night in Boston with Mr. Marceau. So Thursday's WrestleRant radio time TBD. Not exactly sure when we're recording on Thursday. But the show on Thursday will be an on-site report from Dynamite in Boston with myself and Mr. Marceau. Then on Friday, I'll be at Fanatics Fest. I think having my championship belt signed and just doing some other stuff as well. And that's in New York City. So I'm all over the place this week. I apologize for going later than usual here today for the show. We have a lot of activity in the chat. We will not waste any time in getting to your comments and questions and whatever else is over there in the chat. So thank you guys so much for tuning in live or watching after the fact. Always appreciated. Want to quickly shout out our channel members and those that have supported the channel. Always appreciated as well. That being Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, Daniel, Malcolm, at I'm Quarter on X, DJ Swerve1, at Swerve1 on IG, Mr. Marceau, at RJ_Marceau on X, John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube, Richie Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube, and Average Grunt at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. More information on how to become a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member down below. You can support the channel that way. You can also support the channel simply by liking this video, turning a notification, subscribing to the channel, and by turning on notifications, you'll be notified every single time we're live here on the channel, typically Tuesdays and Thursdays for hashtag AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio, respectively, and also whenever new content goes up here in the channel as well. I still have yet to watch last week's season premiere of Dark Side of the Ring. There's a lot of stuff I've yet to watch and review, that being one of them. I'm not too far behind on that because only 2 episodes have aired so far. I know the third one comes out tonight, which is a continuation of the TNA episode. So as I've been doing for years now here on the channel, I will watch those episodes. I will review those episodes. I don't know when that's going to be. It could be a week or two late. It could be a month late. It really is more a matter of when I can kind of get back on track and catch up on all the shit I've been behind on for many months now. So just bear with me on that. But we are live here on the channel regardless, every single week, twice a week for hashtag AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio, respectively. If you want to send in a question to the show for me to answer here on hashtag AskGSM, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews, /Graham.gsm.Matthews, whatever. Be sure to drop a comment on the post I typically put up on Monday nights. If not on the wall itself, include your question there. You can also include your question in the comment section down below on this very video. After it's done processing, of course, I'll include your question in next week's edition. You can also join us live, as I always mention, and you can drop a question in that chat for me to answer here on the show, which is exactly what we're going to do right now. Not sure how long we'll be here today since we got a later start than usual, but we're going to get going with your questions and comments from the chat. So again, thank you to those that have joined in, sent out a lot of questions, comments, whatever. Always appreciated. Nathaniel, what's going on, my man? He said, I'm going to wear my Knicks hat while I watch Saturday night's main event. That's another thing, by the way. We'll also do predictions for the overall very underwhelming card for Saturday night's main event coming up on Saturday. I will not be there for that show. Like I said, I'll be in New York for Fanatics Fest on Friday. I will not be there for Saturday night's main event on Saturday. He also saw the new Evil Dead Burns movie. I have not seen that. I have no intention of seeing that. I have not seen the other ones. I don't really care, but hopefully you enjoyed it. He said, did I like the Seth and Roman promo yesterday? I did. I thought it turned into a great segment. I was worried at first because it kind of started out like decent. The entrances take up fucking 10 minutes. And then I'm like, they've already started this segment so close to the end of the episode that I was worried that they were just going to kind of keep it basic, do their dumbass catchphrases, and then move on. We've seen a lot of contract signings like that, especially in WWE and especially in recent years. Thankfully, that's not what this was. They could kind of coast off of like the catchphrases and shit like that. They did to a certain extent when Rollins did the whole revolutionary, blah, 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 all that dumb shit. I was kind of like, okay, whatever. And then he walked away, and then Roman kind of retaliated with his own great promo and kind of cooked Rollins on the mic. And I thought that was great. It turned into a great segment. They got physical. I don't know how much more they can do. in the next 2 or 3 weeks to sell people on this match. Personally, I am sold. I am looking forward to the match. It is a big match, and I thought that was a great segment last night. But yeah, no, I really did like the segment to close out the show, and I thought it was probably the best part of the show. I also really liked that was the contract signing. I also really liked the gauntlet match. I thought the overall show was solid, but I thought the best parts of the show were kind of down the stretch. Typically, it's the other way around. Do I have any early Saturday night's main event predictions? I will save those for Thursday's WrestleRant Radio. There's a Hotel Transylvania 5 movie coming out next year. I did see that. I didn't even know they made a fourth one. I think I watched the third one many years ago. I didn't even know they made a fourth one. He said, my Yankees face the Dodgers this weekend. Very nice. Johnny, the last real bad guy. Thank you for joining. He said, my top 5 WrestleMania rematches at SummerSlam, he says, are TLC 1. Does that count, though? It does. It does. I was thinking, when I was coming up with my own list, I was thinking, was TLC 1 before, like, the Mania matches? And it wasn't. It was SummerSlam 2000, or I'm sorry, WrestleMania 2000, and then SummerSlam 2000, and then WrestleMania 17. So you're actually right. His other ones include Undertaker versus Edge, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, Kurt versus Brock, and Kurt versus Eddie. He said for his women's pick, it's Bianca versus Becky from SummerSlam 2022. I will get into my own picks a little bit later on, but you actually included some of my own favorite WrestleMania rematches at SummerSlam in your list there. Daniel, what's going on, brother? He said, He also said, still trying to figure out where I was when Otis caught feelings for Maxine. Yeah, I know we talked about this over Twitter, but very random. And as I had explained to Daniel, and I'm not defending it, I'm just saying, the only reason they had Otis randomly come out of nowhere and say that he had feelings for Maxine was because he's a great sympathetic figure, and they knew by doing that, when they had Maxine and Austin Theory turn on him and beat the shit out of him, it would pour more. It would put more heat on the Vision. It would put more heat on them, which it did. It was an effective segment in that regard. The acting was not great, but it was effective in that regard. Otis is a great babyface. That being said, though, they have been together now as Alpha Academy. Maxine Dupree has been in Alpha Academy for at least, it's got to be well over 2 years now, 2 or 3 years. It's been a few years. Very, very random that he would all of a sudden come out of nowhere with no signs or anything, saying that he was interested in Maxine. Now, granted, it can be realistic in the sense that certain people may not show that they have feelings for a certain person until it's convenient or until someone else comes around. That could have been the case here. So it's not completely unrealistic that he would have feelings for Maxine, but it feels like to me that was never the end game. That was just something they threw in there to put more heat on the heels when they broke his heart. I will also say what was even more unrealistic than that was Maxine saying, you can't get girls, like look at you and then look at me. Why did you ever think that would make sense? And listen, Otis may not be the sort of guy that's walking around with like 10 hot divas on his arm or whatever. But that being said, in WWE canon alone, it was established, albeit years ago, but it was established that he was in a relationship and got Mandy Rose. They fell for each other. They got the kiss at WrestleMania, albeit in front of no fans. A lot of people may forget that because that was during no fans. That was during the pandemic COVID period. But he did land Mandy Rose in WWE canon. So, and I would argue she might even be a step above Maxine Dupree, in my own personal opinion. So if he could land Mandy Rose, realistically, he could have landed Maxine Dupree. Fernando, what's going on, my man? Thank you for joining. He says, good morning, WrestleRant. Buenos dias. He said, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart in a steel cage in Chicago. As far as his favorite WrestleMania rematch at SummerSlam. Phenomenal match, like you said. I forgot that was in Chicago, but it was a cage match. Arguably one of the greatest cage matches in WWE history, if not the best one. He said, which wrestler among all of the SummerSlam shows I have watched had the best matches? Basically, what I'm asking you is we call Shawn Michaels Mr. WrestleMania. Who is Mr. SummerSlam according to you? We've answered the question. We answer this question literally every single year here on the show. My answer has probably changed. To me, my top 3 would be Brock Lesnar would probably be number 1. I associate him more with SummerSlam than anyone, which is why I think it would be fitting if he had his last match ever in WWE at SummerSlam this year. Or at least the last match as part of this run, this retirement run, whatever. Would love to see him wrap up his career at SummerSlam in his home state this year against Obafemi, losing, of course. But I would put Brock Lesnar number 1. I would say Bret Hart is 2 for all the great matches and moments he had on that show. You know, SummerSlam's 89 and 90, he was involved in 2 great matches, two great tag matches. SummerSlam 91 and 92, he had 2 great singles matches against Mr. Perfect and British Bulldog for the Intercontinental Championship, I believe, both times. 93, I'm pretty sure he faced Doink, which is pretty or Isaac. It was either Isaac Yankem or Doink. Pretty sure it was fucking Isaac Yankem would not come in until like 95. So I'm pretty sure he faced Doink in a quick throwaway match in 93. 94, the aforementioned cage match you mentioned against Owen Hart, which was obviously phenomenal. 95, I think, was either the Lawler match or Isaac Yankem DDS. It was one of the two. 96 was not, he was not at that one. And the 97 he faced, no, 97 he wasn't there, right? No, 96 he wasn't there. 97 he faced Undertaker for the WWE Championship, which he won, and that was a great match. So I would go Brock 1, Bret 2, and then honestly Seth Rollins number 3. I feel like Seth Rollins for some reason gets overlooked, just in general, but as Mr. SummerSlam, because you also look at his resume. SummerSlam 2012, he debuted at Survivor Series, so we would not have been at that one. SummerSlam 2013, did they have an impromptu Shield 6-man? I know RVD challenged Dean Ambrose on the pre-show for the United States Championship, which got interrupted by the Shield. I thought the Shield may have had an impromptu 6-man on that show. I don't think so. I think it was just Ambrose and RVD. So I don't know if he wrestled on that show. SummerSlam 2014, he arguably had the best match on the show against Dean Ambrose in one of the best lumberjack matches I've ever seen. SummerSlam 2015, the phenomenal champion versus champion match with John Cena, which he won. Walked out still the WWE champion and also the new United States champion. That was the best match on that show. I was there for that one. SummerSlam 2016 with Finn Balor, he lost to crown the inaugural Universal Champion. Still a very good match. I know Balor got hurt during that match. Balor talked about that recently in the interview with Chris Van Vliet. But still a very good match for what it was. I was also at that show. SummerSlam 2017, it was him and Ambrose winning the tag titles against The Bar. Great match. SummerSlam 2018 against Dolph Ziggler. Great match for the Intercontinental Championship. I think that was a great opener. I'm pretty sure it was. SummerSlam 2019, the great main event with Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. SummerSlam 2020, really fun street fight with the debuting Dominic Mysterio, the in-ring debut of Dominic Mysterio. SummerSlam 2021. What would it have been at SummerSlam 2021? Who did he face on that show? Oh, Edge, of course. Had that phenomenal match with Edge at SummerSlam 2021. 22, he did not wrestle at. It was supposed to be him and Riddle. They moved that to Clash of the Castle instead. I'm sure he was pissed about that, but they did brawl on that show. They did not have a match. SummerSlam 2023, he faced Finn Balor again for the World Heavyweight Championship. Really good match. SummerSlam 2024, he did not wrestle, but he was the ref for Punk and Drew. And then SummerSlam last year, he cashed in Money in the Bank to win the World Heavyweight Championship against CM Punk. So I would say Rollins, honestly, is a very close 3. John Cena, I don't associate him with SummerSlam. He did have a lot of bangers at the event, but he also lost a lot of fucking matches at SummerSlam. But some of his best matches were on that show. The 2 different, or at least one match he had with CM Punk in 2011. He had a triple threat with Punk in 2012 at SummerSlam. But those matches, his great SummerSlam match with Randy Orton in 07, the amazing SummerSlam match with Cody Rhodes last year, that was at SummerSlam for the undisputed WWE Championship, the AJ Styles match in 2016, the Seth Rollins match in 2015, the squash against Brock in 2014, 2017 we don't talk about, the squash against Corbin, that was kind of like whatever. 2018, I don't think he wrestled on that show. 2021, he faced Roman Reigns. I would still say my top 3 Mr. SummerSlams as of this recording are Brock Lesnar, Bret Hart, and Seth Rollins in that order. Fernando also said, sorry, I got a notification on my phone. Savage versus Warrior, Bret Hart versus Taker with Shawn as special guest referee. That was also the SummerSlam 97 main event, of course. Bret Hart versus British Bulldog. Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. IC Championship, Punk versus Cena. Rank is all-time SummerSlam classics. Yeah, those are all great SummerSlam matches. I did not include Savage versus Warrior in my favorite SummerSlam matches that were also WrestleMania rematches, but I honestly really liked that match. I think it had like a non-finish or something because they fought for the WWE title. But that was a WrestleMania rematch. I don't think the same year. I think that was like the following year. I think they faced off in Mania in 91, and then the SummerSlam rematch was at SummerSlam 92, but still a really good match. Nathaniel said, is Alpha Academy going to beat the Vision for the tag titles? And do you feel bad for Braun Breaker? Yeah, Braun Breaker, I don't know what the fuck they're doing there. The fact that he was the 5th most important person in that segment last night behind Maxine Dupree, Austin Theory, Otis, and Akira fucking Tozawa is insane to me. It's insane. That's crazy. Do I think Alpha Academy is going to win the tag titles? No. Do I think they should? Honestly, I don't care. I really don't. I mean, those tag titles mean nothing. They have no division. Who gives a shit? Fernando said, oh, I forgot one. Edge versus Jeff Hardy, ladder match or TLC? When did they have a TLC match? I remember their ladder match from Extreme Rules 09. I really like that match. I don't remember them ever having a TLC match one-on-one. The tag team matches, of course. I would say the ladder match because I don't remember TLC between the two. I know him and Punk had a TLC match. Jeff Hardy and Punk at SummerSlam 09. Fernando said, which Brock Lesnar and Taker Hell in the Cell did I enjoy more? That's a good question. I like the 02 one more, but honestly, the 2015 Hell in the Cell is also pretty fucking good. I really like that match. They had a really good feud in 2015. Way better than it had any right to be after Taker had a terrible 2014 and that awful Mania match with Brock. In 2015, he came back and he fought at SummerSlam. He had the WrestleMania match with Bray Wyatt. He fought at Survivor Series. He fought at Hell in the Cell. He had a really good 2015 to Undertaker. So, yeah, I would still go with the first one. I really, really like their first Hell in the Cell match. Yes, Nike fan, we are live. Thank you for joining us. Call of Duty is back. I have not played a Call of Duty game in like over a decade. It has been a while. I used to play I never bought the games myself, but my older brother would buy them and I would play them on his Xbox, either with him or my other brother. They're fun games. I don't know which one it was. I feel like it was Call of Duty 3. This would have been like, man, we're going well back over 10 years. I probably have not played a Call of Duty game since like 2010. Maybe 2011, but probably closer to 2010. Nathaniel, or actually Fernando, I'm sorry. He said, not yet, Nike. He said, we weren't live at that point when he included that chat, but we are live now, of course. We're going to catch up to the current comments as we go along here. I try to read off all the comments that I can, especially here on Tuesdays. He said, what are your thoughts on the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot, Fernando asked. I'm going to be honest, I don't really care. I'm actually more excited. It is interesting both of these news items dropped at the same time. I am more excited for the Crystal Lake show on Peacock, which I read today where all 8 episodes are dropping at once. I don't love that model. I like the kind of weekly model. Like, I feel like that's where Welcome to Derry really thrived. If they dropped all at once, people would have forgotten about it immediately. Like Sputter Noir, we actually just finished a few days ago. It kind of took us a while to get through it, but we finally finished it. Really like the show. No one has talked about it since like the week it came out, which is a shame because it turned out to be a really good show, but they followed the Netflix model of dropping all the episodes at once. Now, it's nice for the bingers to watch everything at once, but it doesn't really add to the weekly conversation on social media. So I don't really like that aspect of it, but I am looking forward to the show. And I was never a Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I honestly don't think I've seen the original. My college roommate showed me the reboot, which I didn't really care for. I'll go back and watch the original. I've never really been much of a Freddy fan. I like the Halloween movies. I like the Friday the 13th movies. Not a big fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Nathaniel talking about Big Cass being on Raw soon. Yeah, they aired that vignette last night. I was shocked. They're doing the vignette treatment with Big Cass as opposed to just bringing him back as a surprise. Now, is he going to be on his own? I know Enzo Amore, they also re-sign or are going to re-sign. I mean, them as a team, that's obviously where the money was at one point. In 2026, what does that even look like? I think there's more money in Cass on his own. Enzo sucks. I mean, as a tag team guy, he was fine, but he has been more exposed as just being not fucking good at all, specifically in the ring. Like, people talk about, oh, LA Knight sucks. He doesn't. LA Knight is completely content in the ring. Enzo's matches on his own were genuinely bad. And not just in WWE. A lot of the matches I've seen him have since WWE, whether it was Northeast Wrestling, MLW, he just is not good. Cass, on the other hand, is actually quite good, has improved a lot, and is much more of a star now than he was. Like, he can be a much bigger star now than a decade ago. I wasn't really sold on a single push in 2017, 2018, but he's in much better shape now. He's in a much better mental health space, whatever. I would actually like to see him get more of a shot on his own than him in a tag team. But you can bring him back as a team and then introduce him on his own. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Hopefully WWE actually commits to using him, though. Fernando, would you be okay with a Back to the Future reboot? I would not. I don't see what purpose that would serve. If you were to do like a Ghostbusters Legacy reboot with like some of the original actors while they're still around, then maybe, depending on the script. But it's been so long. A reboot would be fucking awful. No, I have no interest in that at all. Like, they did a Legacy sequel for Ghostbusters. Now, I like those movies. Were they necessary? No. Did I like them? Yes. Back to the Future, I might be okay with that, but for a full-on reboot, I would not. Johnny, I forgot to type my catchphrase before I type anything else. Say hello to the last real bad guy. What are you, Seth Rollins? Giving off your catchphrase in your promo. I'm the revolutionary. I'm the fucking this and visionary. Who gives a shit? Fernando said, what are some movie classics that you would like to see get rebooted? I'm not a big reboot fan, so I'm going to say none. It's a case-by-case basis as far as, okay, I'd be okay with that. All right, that first movie was terrible. Let's give it another shot and see if it's any better the second time around. I feel like that would make more sense, as opposed to like Moana, rebooting a movie that was animated from 10 years ago, and then the remake apparently is no good. I might watch that just for the sake of seeing that on Disney Plus at some point when it comes out. I'm not paying to see it. At this point, especially seeing the reviews, I have no interest. If it was good, I might have considered it, but apparently it's not. Psycho, what's going on, brother? He said, hi, Graham, congratulations. I have no idea what you're congratulating me on, but thank you, Psycho. I appreciate it. Fernando said, sorry, Graham, I just noticed you asked for Mania rematches at SummerSlam. I was just naming off my favorite SummerSlam matches. Well, that's okay, too. That is also okay, too. Always great to include those. A lot of great SummerSlam matches and a lot of great chats here that I will go through as we go along. Let's see. Daniel, what's going on, my man? I already welcomed you earlier. He said, I can't really think of many. I'll go with Eddie and Ray from 05. I forgot about that one. Eddie and Ray is another good one. Not among my favorites, but that was a really good ladder match at SummerSlam 05. SummerSlam 05 is a pretty sneaky good show. Eric said, damn you, Maxine, you Jezebel in my best Jim Ross voice. Yeah, Jezebel. I mean, that's not how you spell it, but classic Jim Ross line. Daniel said, word to my 20-year-old vet, 21-year vet Dom. Yeah, you're right. Dom was involved in the, the big SummerSlam ladder match with Ray and Dom, or Eddie and, Ray and Eddie, I'm sorry, from SummerSlam 05. So he is a vet for 21 years. He will be the first one to tell you that. Fernando, as far as his favorite SummerSlam matches that were Mania rematches, he included it here. He said Brett versus Owen, Savage versus Warrior, Brock versus Taker, Jericho and Shawn. I don't think Jericho and Shawn ever had a SummerSlam rematch. They faced off at Mania 19. They did not have a match at Did they have a match at SummerSlam that year? I don't think they did. If you're thinking of their 08 feud, Jericho punched Michaels' wife by accident at SummerSlam 08, but that wasn't a match. Anyway, he said Roman and Brock, Randy and Triple H are my all-time favorite Mania SummerSlam rematches. When did Triple H and Randy have a SummerSlam match that was one-on-one? I know WrestleMania in 09. They did not have a rematch one-on-one at SummerSlam 09. I know DX faced Legacy and Randy faced Cena. It's interesting. Cena and Randy have had a couple SummerSlam matches one-on-one. They never had a one-on-one Mania match. Whereas Triple H and Randy had a couple at least one multi-man match at Mania. And they did have a singles match at Mania too. I don't know if they ever had a SummerSlam match one-on-one, if I can remember correctly. Which might have been for the better because they never really had great in-ring chemistry. Fernando said, Mercedes shared another cryptic tweet regarding Bayley and her pending arrival in AEW. When her contract expires, if Bayley signs back with WWE, is the CEO risking looking stupid? Good question. I don't think so. Honestly, when Bayley re-signs, Mercedes likes to tease people. When Bayley re-signs, I don't think anyone's really going to look back on Mercedes' tweets and be like, oh, what an idiot. She's just, I mean, they're best friends. You know, they're best friends. She would obviously love nothing more than to have her in AEW. And you're saying when Bayley, or you're saying if Bayley resigns. I'm not exactly sure that's a guarantee. I can honestly absolutely see Bayley leaving. I think when she re-signed a few years ago, that was the right move. She was just kind of breaking away from Damage Control. There was money there in a babyface Bayley run. They turned her babyface. She got her big Mania moment in a great match with EO. And she really hasn't been the same since. She held the belt through SummerSlam, and her reign was kind of uneventful. She didn't really do a whole lot after that. She's fought for the tag titles. She's fought for the IC title. She fought for the women's title to get that back. She's lost all of them. I don't think she has held gold at all since she lost that WWE Women's Championship 2 years ago at SummerSlam. So, honestly, if I'm Bayley, it's really now or never. If she re-signs with WWE, I don't think she ever goes to AEW. So I feel like now would be the time to do it. And I think her contract will be up within the next year, if not the next few months. Daniel forgot about Brett and Owen. I mean, you can't. How could you forget about that one? They had one of the greatest cage matches of all time from '94. Alexis is here saying yay, or yo, rather. Alexis is joining us. Always great to see her in the chat. Give me backshot, Solomonster. Always a great name. Said Roxanne needs to hurry up and leave Judgment Day. She's a much better in-ring worker than all of them. No lies detected. I have been ready for Roxanne to leave Judgment Day since at least WrestleMania, if not right after or right before. She's kind of just there right now. They were teasing tension with her and Liv, and then they moved away from it. Fucking just move on. And, have her break away as a babyface. That's what I would do. Richie, what's going on, my man? He said, what up, y'all? It's GSM Day. Thank you, Richie. Always appreciate that. Richie actually, as I've said before, has a birthday coming up. Daniel's birthday, who called Alexis Ty Alexis. Daniel's birthday was a few weeks ago on July 2nd. Richie's got a birthday coming up on July 25th. And that is a Saturday, so we will not be live on that day. But he's got a birthday coming up pretty soon. Fernando said, rip to the marriage of Mia Yim and Keith Lee. Mia mentioned it to a fan on Twitter that they divorced. Yeah, I saw that this morning. That's a bummer. I thought they were still together. Apparently, they have not been together for a while. I mean, if they're fucking divorced, I mean, that means that they filed the paperwork, it's official, and it's been official for a bit. I don't pay attention to people's social media, so maybe he's been out of her social media stuff for a while. That seems to be the case. You don't just divorce overnight. Clearly, the writing was on the wall for a while there, I would imagine. But yeah, I saw that. I mean, obviously, no real need to. I mean, she was the one that talked about it. Like the Jey Uso divorce stuff, TMZ reported on that. That's TMZ. That's what they do. I don't really like talking about that sort of stuff. It's weird. And like the whole Jada Parker thing. I mean, I think, to be clear, I'm pretty sure Jay has been with Jada Parker for a while. I also think him and his wife have been separated for some time. So it's not as if to my knowledge, I don't think he was cheating on his wife. I have no idea. But I think he has been separated for some time. As far as, the Keith and Mia thing is a bit more relevant because they're both in the public eye. Jay's wife is not. Keith and Mia had teamed up in NXT years ago when they were both in NXT. They've been public with their marriage. They got married, I think, 4 years ago. They've been in opposing companies for the last 4 years. Mia Yim returned to WWE in 2022. Keith Lee's been in AEW this whole time, doing largely nothing because he's been out injured for almost 3 fucking years now, which is crazy. No idea what's going on there. But yeah, no, I was sad to see that. Hopefully they're both doing well now. Johnny said, any thoughts on SummerSlam not selling out? I mean, we could talk about it more on Thursday, but I can't really say I'm surprised given the business trend of WWE in the last year. The product isn't like ice cold or anything. I think there are good elements of WWE right now. They're doing well enough business-wise where it's not like all hands on deck, red alert, red alert. But clearly they are not thriving as much as they were a year ago. This also goes to show that doing 2 days of SummerSlam was a fucking mistake. It worked last. Hold on, is my mic working? Can you guys hear me? Check 1 2, check 1 2. All right. If my mic is clear, let me know in the chat. For some reason, I think I pressed the fucking wire by accident. If it's like choppy or weird, please let me know. And I'll refresh the chat. I'll go down, and then I'll go back up to read the rest of what I haven't gotten to yet. But please, if you're watching, let me know in the chat if the mic is good. Anyway, yeah, they could get away with SummerSlam being 2 nights last year because of John Cena's last match. This year they can. They do have big matches like Oba and Brock, Roman and Rollins, Punk and Cody are all big matches. SummerSlam does and should not be 2 nights. You have to expect this is going to be the case business-wise if you're going to keep fucking doing this. It will be even worse next year, I guarantee it. I saw Alexis's text. She said I'm good. She's actually still here, which is I appreciate that. So thank you to Alexis for letting me know that the mic is good. Johnny also said you're going to have a good time in New York as usual and a good time eating New York pizza. No, I will not. I honestly, I've said this before, Johnny, and I apologize. I do not like going to New York if I don't have to. I was actually just there recently. Alexis and I saw the Dog Day Afternoon play, which was great. I don't like traveling to New York. I don't like being in New York. It smells like shit. The food, I really don't care about. New York pizza, I don't really give a fuck about. We have great pizza here in Connecticut that I can have. I had great pizza here in Connecticut last Friday, actually, and last Wednesday. I had pizza twice last week, and it was great both places I got it from. I will not be having pizza while I'm there. I'll probably have fucking chicken tenders at the event itself. So I am not looking forward to being in New York. I'm looking forward to being at Fanatics Fest. New York itself, no thanks. It was funny. I had not been to New York before last week when we went to that Broadway play. I had not been in New York since maybe November when I went to Raw at MSG. So it had been at least or no, that's not true. I had not been there since Christmas. Alexis and I went there for the Dynamite show at Manhattan, the Hammerstein Ballroom, whatever. And we had a great time. I had not been there in 7 months. I did not miss it at all. Not a single element of New York City did I miss. Nike fan said, what movie am I watching today? And the Odyssey comes out Friday. No movie today. I am busy. I am not seeing a movie today. I will likely see the Odyssey. I actually changed my mind on that. It's not that I don't have interest. It's not that I'm interested. But I came to the conclusion that I have seen, not including Odyssey because it's not out yet, I have seen 9 out of 12 of Nolan's movies that he has directed. The only movies I have not seen are the following: The Prestige, and something else from the early Insomnia. Those are the only 3 Nolan movies at this point I have not seen. I saw Memento finally late last year. Really liked Memento, actually. Alexis showed me Interstellar years ago. That's a great movie. Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins. I've seen all of those, of course. I did see Tenet. I thought Tenet sucked. Oppenheimer was really good. I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought it was a really good movie. So because I've seen almost all of his movies, I probably will end up seeing the Odyssey. I don't know if I'll see it next Tuesday necessarily, but I will likely see it at some point, and I'll let you know what I think. I'll probably end up thinking it's overrated because it looks very much overrated. It's going to be one of those movies where I'm checking my watch constantly, but maybe I'll walk away and think it's amazing. I'll find out next week. I will give it a chance. I will see it for $5, though. I'm not paying more than $5 to see that fucking movie. Johnny said, how would you rank the 3 Omega versus MJF matches? That's a good question. I was there for the first one, fun fact. They did it on Collision in Mohegan Sun in 2023. And that was when if MJF won, he would break Omega's record as the longest reigning AEW World Champion. And that was a great match. So Alexis and I were there for that one. I would say the first one might have been their best. I think the Dynasty match was their second best match. I liked the match this past week a lot. I thought that was a great match. I don't know. They're all kind of equally excellent. I might say their first one was their best because Omega was a little bit younger, not as beat up injury-wise. I would probably go the first one was their best, and then the third match, and then the second match. But you really can't go wrong with any of them because I thought all 3 of them were great matches. Richie said, 24-hour stream, you say? Absolutely not, Richie. Absolutely not. Someday, maybe. Today, though, is not that day. Nike fan said, I liked Maxine's segment last night. It was really entertaining. And can finally Otis. Can finally get Otis the push he deserves. The fans want to get behind him, but Triple H always stops his push. Because Otis will only go so far, brother. Otis plays his role great. Could they do more with Otis? Yes. But here's the thing with Otis people need to understand. He makes the most of whatever he's involved in. He's a great character. There is not one Otis match I could point to in the last 7 or 8 years. I'm like, yep, that was a barn burner. He's had some good matches. Otis is a great character, though, that you use in spots like this to get other people over, and you can give him his big moment. And he kind of got fucked because in 2020 they gave him his big moment with the whole Mandy Rose thing, but there were no fans. But then, like, what do you do with the guy after that? For some reason, Vince put the fucking Money in the Bank briefcase on him. I love Otis. I actually interviewed him that week right before he won the briefcase, which was cool, and then he won the briefcase. They did nothing with it. And then he lost the briefcase 6 or 7 months later because they didn't know where to go with it, and it ended up being terrible. So yeah, Otis is not really, like, you're not going to give him a fucking, I'm sorry, you're definitely not a world title. What do you even really want to see out of him? You know, like the tag titles, if that's your idea of a big push, then sure. But like one-on-one, he's not winning the Intercontinental Championship. He should not win the Intercontinental Championship. There's a lot of people I would rather see pushed and used better than fucking Otis. I like Otis a lot. I can't emphasize that enough. But you can only go so far with a guy like that. Nike fan said, "Rip to the Dinosaur Man, Dr. Grant. Thank you for the good Jurassic Park movies that you were in." Yeah, how many good Jurassic Park movies are there? I kid. Yeah, Sam Neill I saw passed away yesterday, which is sad. Obviously, the main character of Jurassic Park, he was in the first 3, and he was in the 3rd Jurassic World movie. They brought him back for a kind of a main role in that movie, which was cool. But I'm glad he got to do that before he passed away. Who do I think helps Alpha Academy? Probably the Prophets, right? I mean, I don't think anyone helps him, actually. If you're talking like a female to combat the Vision, to combat Maxine, I don't know who that would be. They don't need another female member. Either the Prophets or Joe Hendry, who had issues with the Vision at one point, or still does. I don't know. It was never really resolved. He did beat Austin. Did he beat Austin Theory? I think he did. Didn't he beat Austin Theory a few weeks ago? I don't remember. But yeah. Maybe Hendry, but I don't know who else it would be. Fernando said, Mandy is a million times better catch than Maxine. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say, but that's merely my opinion. Nathaniel said, Graham, did you like the Lyra and Bailey segment? And do you think Tatum cost Bailey at Saturday night's main event, setting up a SummerSlam match? I don't think they're making the SummerSlam card. I'm sorry. I think they're doing the match on that show this weekend because they're not making the SummerSlam card. I think it's more, we're obviously getting Charlotte and Jade. I don't know if Rhea's back by then, so she would likely have a match on that show, I'd have to imagine. Liv is obviously facing Io Sky. I could see them doing a tag title rematch, which they're already doing at Saturday night's main event as well. I don't see Bailey and Lyra making the card. I just don't. I wouldn't complain, but I don't see that happening. Noob, what's going on, brother? He said, how you doing today? I am doing well. Thank you for asking, Noob. Emmanuel, what's going on, my man? Thank you for joining. Always a pleasure to see you in the chat as well. Hope you're doing well. Fernando said, plays Danhausen in the early 90s with Doink in WWE who gets better fan reactions. Are you asking me? Because you put an exclamation point. I'm assuming you're asking me. The answer is Danhausen. I was not watching WWE in the early 90s, but from what I've seen of Doink, Doink got good reactions. Doink was a good character. Danhausen is way more fucking over, way quicker than Doink as well. So I'm going to go Danhausen. Nike fan said, Bailey will also be leaving WWE at SummerSlam when she loses to Lyra Valkyria. We're going to lose Brock and Bailey. Bailey will be on the other channel with Mercedes. I don't know if it's going to be as soon as SummerSlam, but honestly, I think she is. If I had to choose, will she stay or will she go? I think she's going to leave. And I'm not complaining because what more can she even do at WWE at this point? And they clearly don't really value her as a top star anyway. Emmanuel said, I saw Balor said that Rollins refused the SummerSlam match when they realized Balor was injured, or refused to win the SummerSlam match. Yeah, I did see that clip from the Balor Chris Van Vliet interview. Balor got hurt, obviously. And then Balor said to Rollins, he whispered to him at one point, he said, hey, do you want to switch the finish? I feel like I'm going to be out for a while because I'm not hurt. And then Rollins said, no, stick to the original plan. So Rollins refused to win, which was great. I really appreciate that. I thought that was an interesting little tidbit of trivia that Balor revealed in that interview. Daniel said, valid points are being made for Seth as Mr. SummerSlam. Yeah, I still go Brock over Seth, but Seth is in that conversation. He is absolutely in that conversation. Fernando, should and will Chad Gable dethrone Penta for the IC Championship? Yes, he should, and I think he will. That was a great win for him in the gauntlet last night. It would be fucking booking malpractice of WWE/Triple H to give Chad Gable a title shot in his hometown of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then not have him fucking win. Love Penta, who's had a great run. This is it. This is where he loses it, in my opinion. Daniel said, Shawn Michaels lost way more than he won at Mania 2, but he still got the nickname LOL. That's a good point. But Shawn Michaels had so many barn burners at Mania. Cena, I still don't associate SummerSlam with Cena. I just don't. He had better matches at SummerSlam than WrestleMania, but it's interesting. With Cena, you could put him in that conversation. He would not be in the top 3. I would still put Bret Hart, Brock, and Rollins. That is a good point that you're making, but I would still put all 3 of those people in that SummerSlam conversation over Cena. Cena buried the fucking Nexus at SummerSlam 2010. 2009, the match with Orton was a fucking mess. The SummerSlam match with Batista, I really liked. The 2007 match with Orton was really good. 2006 with Edge was good. 2005 with Jericho was good. 2004, I think he faced Booker T. He's had a lot of good to great matches. The Punk match was really good. The Triple Threat at SummerSlam 2012 was decent. 2013 with Bryan, who I forgot to mention, was amazing. They had a great match on that show. I would probably include Cena in that conversation. I don't think SummerSlam, John Cena, but you could put him in maybe the top 5. I would really have to think about it, though. Richie said, can we all take a moment to acknowledge how stupid and overpriced this Club WWE nonsense is? I want it to fail as badly as Tout did. If you know, you know. Oh, I know. I was around for the Tout days. I remember that. I made a Tout account. I was on Tout. Tout doesn't exist anymore, so those videos are gone forever. But I did have a Tout account back in 2012, 2013, and I used it. And I got followers on there. It was funny. Anyway, they probably sold my information to like the fucking Russians or something. Went by me making a Tout account. Anyway, I don't know how overpriced the Club WWE thing is because I haven't looked into it because I genuinely do not give a shit. But I don't doubt that you're wrong. I don't doubt what you're saying, though. I'm sure you're right. Johnny said Edge had a few great matches at SummerSlam. Yeah, Edge would probably be in the conversation. Again, I don't think SummerSlam Edge, but the Rollins match was amazing in 2021. He returned at SummerSlam 2022. He returned at SummerSlam 2019. He was gone by SummerSlam 2023. What else? Obviously, when he was active before that, he had matches. He was not at SummerSlam 2020. He was hurt at that point. In 2008, he had the great match with Taker. 2009, he was hurt for. 2010, he was involved in the Nexus WWE match. 2011, he was retired, although he did return on that show for a segment with Christian before Christian faced Randy. 2007, he was not around for. 2006, he faced Cena, which is a good match, like I said. Their Unforgiven match is better, but the SummerSlam match was good. 2005, I don't know what he faced Hardy, but that was like 5 minutes. It was like he fucking destroyed him. It was like a squash. Okay, whatever. 2004, he was in a triple threat for the IC title, I think, and he lost. 2003, he was hurt. 2002, did he face Eddie on that show? I think he faced Eddie on that show. That was a really good match. 2001, I don't remember what he did at 2001. I feel like that was the Alliance shit. Did he become King of the Ring on that show, or did he face Angle? Or I don't remember. I thought he won maybe it was him and Christian. I don't remember. 2000 was obviously the TLC match. Edge had a couple of decent matches at SummerSlam. His like stinkers kind of outweigh the good matches, so I would not put Edge in that conversation. He had a lot of SummerSlam matches, but not a lot of them were all that memorable. Let me backtrack here a little bit. Fernando said, I couldn't decide whether their match was just a ladder match or TLC Edge versus Jeff. Yeah, that was a ladder match from SummerSlam 2009. Extreme Rules 2009. Fernando asked if Alexis and I are seeing Moana tonight. No. I had some interest to begin with when I saw they were first doing it. About a year ago, excuse me, about a year ago when I first saw they were doing it, I had some interest in seeing it, but then I saw how bad it was going to be, and then I'm like, if this is something that gets a lot of word of mouth, I might go check it out, or if it's just like that bad. But it just sounds like it's bad where it's not really worth paying money to see. So my answer is no, and she never really had any interest anyway, so no, we're not seeing Moana tonight or at all. Maybe on Disney Plus at some point for the live action version, that is. We will not be seeing it in theaters. I will tell you that for a fact. Johnny said CM Punk had a few classics at SummerSlam. He has. His Gunther match was great. He faced Drew in 2024, which was good. Their other matches were better. But the Gunther match last year was great. The triple threat at SummerSlam 2012 was good. The Cena match in 2011 was great. Like I said, the Brock match at SummerSlam 2013 was phenomenal. 2010, him and like the Big Show, I think it was Straight Edge Society versus Big Show, kind of sucked. That was whatever. 2009, the Jeff Hardy TLC match was great. 2008 was him and JBL, which was fine. 2007, I think, was him and John Morrison for the ECW title. But yeah, he had some great matches in there. They call it the Summer of Punk for a reason. Yeah, Mrs. Voorhees will be in the show. The Crystal Lake show, I think it's being played by, the Origin series. It's going to be fire, Fernando said. I forgot her, Linda Cardellini, that's who's playing Mrs. Voorhees? I'm looking forward to that. Emmanuel said, I played a lot of Call of Duty, but I was never actually a fan. It was one of those things that I only got into it because it was popular and everyone I knew played it. Call of Duty at its peak was huge. I only played it with my brother. Otherwise, I wouldn't really have any interest. But yeah, at its peak, Call of Duty was a massive fucking game. That's where honestly, Call of Duty to me was more fun for the chats and the headphones, which were way, way less PG than they are now. Way more uncensored. But it was more fun for that stuff than it was the actual game, in my opinion. Richie said, but Graham, how can you say Enzo sucks when he had that amazing match with Jerry Lawler in NEW? That is exactly what I'm referring to, Richie. Their casket match at the NEW Poughkeepsie show. That match was one of the worst matches I've seen live. It was fucking awful. And it went on forever. Would I also say no to a Back to the Future streaming series? What are we talking about? Is it a legacy series? Or is it a reboot? If it's a reboot, then no. I would still say the same thing to that. If it's a legacy series based on the original movies, maybe I would still leave well enough alone and say no, but maybe. Nathaniel said, are you excited for LA Knight and Solo and Royce Keys versus the Usos and Jacob at SummerSlam? I'm not. I'm not excited for it. I think the whole dynamic with those guys is so fucking confusing right now. But it gets them on the card. I guess the match makes sense. I can't say I'm beaming with excitement over that match. He also asked where Jey Uso is. He might still be off dealing with his personal issues. I mean, that's just a guess. I don't know if that's real or not. I know that the personal issues are real. The whole divorce thing is real. I don't know if he's off TV taking care of that, or I don't know. Maybe they didn't need him. I would find it hard to believe that they were just not using him. I would think that he's just probably not there because he's dealing with some sort of personal matter at the moment. Because otherwise, it doesn't really make sense why he has not been there for the last few weeks. King Gaza, what's going on, brother? Said, I don't think this is Brock's last match against Oba. No, I think it is. I'm not convinced that this is his, quote-unquote retirement match. I do think Brock will wrestle again in the future, whether it be down the road. I don't even know what you would do with Brock if he stayed around, though. If he sticks around post-SummerSlam, the fuck do you even do with the guy? Hopefully this is it, but I'm not convinced that it is. Richie said, can you see a Randy Orton return for SummerSlam, specifically during the Cody and Punk match? Good question. During the match, no. I feel like they're going to want to keep it clean. It's possible. And then Orton cost Cody. I don't know, but what would be the point of that? Because wouldn't Orton want the title? I guess you can cost Cody the title, and then you can move on from Punk and Cody for a little while. Yeah, it's possible. I wouldn't hate that. I want a clean finish, though. I mean, Randy coming back will be a decent deal because we haven't seen him since Mania, but it's not that exciting to where I would have that end the match. That, to me, would feel like a fucking B-level pay-per-view main event to set up Cody and Orton for SummerSlam. So I would not do that, or at least in that way. Maybe Orton comes back afterward. Maybe, Punk beats Cody barely. Neither of them go heel, but Orton comes back and attacks both men. I would be okay with that. Emmanuel said, do you remember the first time you heard/watched the Hogan-Shawn Michaels match? Heard about many, many years ago. Seen the match. I think I've only seen the match once. I watched it when I reviewed the show here on the channel, like over 10 years ago. I watched it then. I may have seen it otherwise, because something that Comcast used to do back in the day, which I always really liked, when I first got into wrestling in like '08, they did this for a few years when this was way before the WWE Network. You could buy individual matches on Comcast. Some of them were free, some of them were like $1.99. So there were a few instances where I bought I don't know why the fuck I would buy this match, but I bought the Nexus versus Team WWE. Not when it happened, but like a few years later. Again, pre-WWE Network. I bought that match. I bought Cena and Edge in like '08. That was from '06, but I bought it in '08 and watched that match from '06. I don't remember what else I bought. But that might have been, my point is I might have seen Shawn and Hogan before I rewatched SummerSlam '05 many years ago. But it was I had already heard the stories about it, so I knew what I was expecting going into it. Richie said, there's usually a return at SummerSlam, or have been in recent times. Could we potentially see an Orton return then? It's also been radio silent. He has also been radio silent, as has WWE. Yeah, I could see Orton coming back at SummerSlam. Again, like I said, I would not have him necessarily return during the match. That to me kind of, like, I feel like Cody and Punk are going to have a great match. I don't like that being tainted by an interference finish. I don't like that at all. But if you have him come back afterward, him coming back at all, I like. Him coming back during the match, don't love. Him coming back afterward, I like. I do like that. You can pick up where he left off with Cody. I feel like that would make the most sense. Plant the seeds maybe for Punk and Orton. I know they've obviously had many matches before, but, it's been a good fucking 15, 13 years since their last match. So as a B-level pay-per-view main event, I wouldn't be opposed to it this fall. Fernando said, better Hogan and Macho Man related tag team main event. He says, the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks, or Macho Man and Zeus versus Hogan and Barber Beefcake. I'm going to go Hogan and Macho versus Mega Bucks. I've seen both of those matches. Macho Man and Zeus, like, Zeus in the ring was not that good at all. And, like, fucking Beefcake, who cares, And I know that match was used to promote No Holds Barred. But I'm going to go Mega Powers versus Mega Bucks. Daniel said, is Triple H and it's also the first SummerSlam main event, is it not? So it's also more memorable for that reason as well. Daniel said, is Triple H the unluckiest Mania main eventer? Meaning multiple times his main events were overshadowed by matches that happened earlier. Rock Hogan, Shawn Michaels, and Undertaker, etc. Yeah, is he the unluckiest Mania main eventer? Yeah, but you also have to remember, too, some of those Mania main events were fucking bores as well. It's not like that he was just unlucky. Like, the Roman match from 32 was pretty fucking boring. They made the most of it and had a good match by what it could have been, but the circumstances sucked. The crowd did not give a shit. But also, in the matches that you're referring to, I'm going to take that back. He's not unlucky. Unlucky to me would mean, like, he got fucked over, but also he got hurt. Like, that didn't happen with Triple H. He just had Mania main events that were fucking boring. Like, him and Jericho was not a great match. It was good. That was not a Mania-worthy main event. It was not. And then at 25, when he faced Orton, again, not a great match. They have very boring chemistry, and they've had better matches than that one. That was a fucking underwhelming match. Very underwhelming. His best Mania main event would have to be him, Benoit, and Shawn from 20. And then at 21, him and Batista was also quite good as well. How many main events did he... Oh, also Mania 2000 also fucking sucked. So, no, I will not say he's unlucky, because a lot of his bad Mania matches had a lot to do with himself. Daniel Malcolm also said, I forgot it was a SummerSlam Mania rematch, LOL. Oh yeah, Eddie and Ray, or which one are you referring to? I don't remember what you're referring to. Johnny said, speaking of Brett versus Owen, do you miss cage matches where you would only win by climbing over? I would prefer that. Winning by, by climbing over, yes. Climbing through the door has always been fucking stupid, regardless of the regardless of who's in the match, what company, I don't care. That's always been dumb. The whole point of the cage, to me, should be trying to leave the cage. Like, who can leave the cage first? By going over the top, though. None of the door shit. If you want to be locked inside of a cage and not have people interfere or not, oh, you can't run away from me. That's hell in a cell to me. At this point in 2026, that is hell in a cell. Give Me Backshot said, I wonder if a possible indirect Bayley for Queen Aminata swap happens with Aminata's contract coming up in 2027. I know what you're saying. One, that would not be an equal trade. I like Aminata. She is very talented. But that is not an equal trade. Bayley is a much bigger get for AEW than Queen Aminata is for WWE. Could they technically switch companies? Yes. But honestly, I am more convinced Bayley is leaving than Aminata leaving AEW. Aminata is good. I've seen that she has said that her contract is up. Aminata, to her credit, has not only gotten better, but she gets a lot of fucking TV time. Like, this is not an Anna Jay situation where Anna Jay really hasn't gotten a consistent push in many years. Aminata has not been there for that long, and she's only really leveled up. She's gotten more AEW TV exposure. I mean, I could see her going to WWE, but I don't know. I mean, she kind of needs to work on her promos. I don't think she'd be great in WWE right now. Anna Jay, to me, that feels like someone WWE would focus on in NXT specifically. Aminata, I don't know. I'm not really convinced that right now is the right time for her to go to WWE. I'd rather see her stay in AEW, and she already has some momentum there. She can have some quality matches. She's getting more reps than she probably would in WWE. I would actually prefer to see her stay where she is for the time being. No L, what's going on? They said they can't wait for the part 3 of the TNA episode of Dark Side of the Ring tonight. Yeah, I will watch them all at some point. I am behind, but I will watch them all at some point. Fernando said, do you think WWE will overpay to keep Bayley from WWE? Or AEW, I think you mean. If you're Bayley, do you hold out for the most money you can from either company? Yes. If Bayley was smart, if she cared about the financial shit, then she would hang WWE over a barrel. I would be like, I need creative assurances. Because when I resigned last time, you gave me a push for like fucking 3 months. And then she really has not been a focal point at all since then. Really, and her booking has been very questionable for a few years. There is no fucking way that she should re-sign without getting some sort of assurance from... Here's the other thing, too. But here's the other thing. Even if she re-signs for a lot of money with WWE, what the fuck is stopping them from, first of all, continuing to book her poorly, and second of all, them asking her to restructure said massive contract in a year or so when they're like, hey, yeah, we don't really see you at that level. We want you to take a pay cut. And then she has even less momentum than she has now because all the talk of her going to AEW, it's hot now. It might not be as hot in a year or two from now. And she'll also be older. Like, just go now. I would, honestly, if I'm her and she still wants to wrestle at a high level, go to AEW. It would also be like she'd have better opponents. They can run back the Mercedes match. That at All In would be fucking crazy. It would have to happen next year at this point because Mercedes is facing the winner of Willow Nightingale and Tekla at All In this year. Next year, though, that would be crazy. I don't know if they're going to be in Wembley Stadium next year, but that would be cool, though. Von Tell, thank you for chiming in saying you guys can hear me. I appreciate that. Was from earlier. I know that's how far back we are now, but I appreciate that. Fernando agrees. New York does smell like shit. Fernando said, what's worse for you, sitting through a terrible movie or a terrible wrestling show? That's a good question. I'm going to say terrible wrestling show because wrestling shows are longer. Wrestling shows, like fucking a bad SmackDown is 3 hours. And I guess you can skip through commercials, but what if I'm there? What if I'm there? Or what if I'm watching live or it's a pay-per-view? A terrible movie can be bad. And I can't even say movies are always shorter than wrestling shows. That's not even necessarily the case. I've seen 3-hour movies that were fucking boring. I'll say a terrible wrestling show is worse. Fernando said, more fun, live music concerts or wrestling shows? Wrestling shows. Eric said, maybe an IC title for Otis? No. There are way more people that should have the Intercontinental Championship before fucking Otis. I'm sorry. Nathaniel said, I hope Chad Gable does not go back in the Vision and Academy stuff. I hope so as well. I don't think he will, and I don't think he should. He should get back on the same page as Alpha Academy, but for him to rejoin them would be a mistake. Keep him on his own, please. Emmanuel said, apparently Otis is genuinely messed up physically. He was on a Sheamus Celtic Warrior workout channel a few years ago, and he said that he can't do deadlifts because his left hip is literally bone on bone. You can tell. Otis has been pretty beat up for a while. He is very limited with what he can do in the ring. Otis is fine in the ring. He was never a great wrestler to begin with, but he's a pretty fucking limited big guy at this point. I don't know if it's quite as bad as Braun Strowman, but it's kind of approaching that point if it's not already there. So I was aware of that. Eric said Ivy Nile can help out Alpha Academy. She's not doing anything. Yeah, but would anyone give a shit, you know? Would anyone care if Ivy helped out Alpha Academy? Fernando said, rank these big men. Otis, Rusev, Brody King, Mark Davis, and Braun Breaker. Otis would be last, first of all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so Otis would be last. I would put Braun Breaker first, then Brody King, then Mark Davis, then Rusev, and then Otis. I like Rusev, but he's also older at this point. I think Davis and King have higher... I don't even really care about Davis as a character, but he's also on a great run right now. So I'd go Breaker 1, Brody King 2, Davis 3, Rusev 4, Otis 5 easily. Nathaniel said, if Rhea has to relinquish the title, do you think Charlotte and Jade compete for it? I do. If they're going to face off at SummerSlam anyway, why would that not be the title match? Who else would you even have compete for the title? JC Jane and fucking, I don't know, Blake Monroe or something? I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, so... no, I do think Charlotte and Jade would probably be... I mean, honestly, that feels like the championship match, and it's not even for a title. Nathaniel said, I would love to see Bayley versus Chris Statlander in AEW. You know what's funny, though? I could see Statlander leaving for WWE. It kind of feels like she's been frustrated in AEW for a while now, like her booking's been questionable. She had a great run as champion for a few months, but I don't know, man. It kind of feels like she's hit her ceiling in AEW. I could see her going to WWE while Bayley goes to AEW. Maybe they'll have a match before Chris Statlander leaves. I know Bayley really wants to face her. She's a big Chris Statlander fan. Millennial Noob said, what are your thoughts on Natty facing Kenzie Page and her sister Kylie Page at NWA 78? That's cool. I know Natty faced Kenzie Page at NWA 77 last year, but I never saw the match because they never aired it. Because Natty's a WWE star, so I guess part of the contract was she can have a match at the show to draw tickets, but you can't air it on Power, which is kind of fucking lame. So we won't even be able to see it, but it's cool that she's working with NWA again. Nathaniel said, imagine if Brock beats Oba at SummerSlam, what would your reaction be? I would fucking riot. That would be stupid as hell. Richie with the tout callback, Daniel says. Let me backtrack a little bit. Nathaniel said, do you think HBK versus Undertaker's WrestleMania match is the greatest WrestleMania match ever? I do. Fernando said, which free agent in the future will cause a big bidding war between WWE and AEW? I'm talking LeBron James, taking his talents to South Beach from the Cavs type of situation. That's a great comparison. Honestly, MJF. I feel like if MJF was a free agent, and he will be at some point, there's a very likely possibility he's going to WWE when his next contract is up. He, I think, will be the equivalent of LeBron James in 2010. I don't know who else it would be, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think Oba Femi is a free agent anytime soon. Maybe Braun Breaker, but I don't see him leaving. Who else? You know, I'm not even really sure. I think MJF is the answer. Also, as someone in his prime, too. I'm not talking like fucking Cody or... who are all big stars, Cody, Punk. If they were to go to AEW, they would finish their careers there. They're not really... it's not that big of a deal. MJF deciding where he's going to go next for his next contract is a massive deal. Fernando said he also wants Club WWE to fail. Nathaniel said, when is the John Cena tournament they announced at Backlash? The latest thing I saw this morning was that the internal belief is that it will happen in the second half of the year, which is, yeah, no shit. We're already in the second half of the year. But then I also saw it's believed to be happening in, like, the end of the year, which would make sense because they had the Last Time Is Now tournament in, like, November, December. John Cena said he likes that point in time for as a good attraction period for WWE because there's not a whole lot else to get excited about. So if I had to guess, if they're going to do it at all, which I hope they don't because I don't really give a fuck about the John Cena Classic, doing it in December around the Continental Classic time would make the most sense. Edge versus Batista versus Jericho for the IC title at SummerSlam 04. Yes, I do remember that. happening. I remember that happening. I remember nothing else about that match. Did he win that match? You're saying that he won that match. Batista, I know, did not. You're right. Okay, I think Edge did win that match. I don't really remember the quality of the match, though, so I don't really consider that to be like one of his better SummerSlam matches. I'm pretty sure he got booed on that show. I'm pretty sure they were in Canada for that show and he got fucking booed. So I would not put that up there with Edge's best SummerSlam moments. Edge fought Lance Storm at SummerSlam 01 to win the IC title. Yeah, I have no recollection of that at all. The Bon Quivy. What's going on, The Bon Quivy? We love Bon Quivy. He's great. He's not Trevor. Fuck Trevor, man. He's a piece of shit. Fuck him. Bon Quivy said, which top star do you think should get most of the blame for the company's current standing/reception? I mean, none of them, because it's not their fault. It's the booking's fault. It's WWE's fault. It's TKO's fault. If there was any one wrestler that should get the blame, to me it would be Roman, because I feel like Roman has to say in the whole bloodline shit continuing. If Roman did not want to continue doing it, they would not do it. But I'm sure he's either okay with it or it was his idea. So honestly, probably Roman Reigns. Emmanuel said, I saw people predicting The Rock might try to make the Roman Reigns match happen again since Moana is underperforming. Yeah, that's one of those like tinfoil hat conspiracy theories, but you're not wrong. There is genuine reason to believe that match could happen at Mania. And honestly, at this point, whatever. Do I care? No. But it's in Saudi. Whatever, man. They wait until the match doesn't really matter anymore to fucking do the match. Unbelievable. Fernando said, how long did it take you to notice that in the major 4 WWE shows, none of them came to existence? None of them was one-on-one main events. Mania 1, tag team main event. SummerSlam 1, tag team main event. Probably now. Probably now. I think you're right. Yeah, I don't think I ever realized that before. The first ever Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series were all tag team main events. Survivor Series, obviously. Rumble, obviously. But yeah, the first ever Mania was a tag team match, and the first ever SummerSlam was also a tag team match. I don't think I ever realized that before when you put it like that. And he mentioned Survivor Series was Team Hogan versus Team Andre, and Rumble 1 was obviously the Rumble match. Yeah, I don't think I ever realized that before. That is very interesting. Nathaniel said, do I miss Jerry Lawler at commentary, and do you hope he returns eventually? No and no. Jerry towards the end was fucking awful. All due respect to his health. Hopefully he's doing better. I know he had a stroke at one point a while ago. Jerry Lawler in his final, 10 years of commentary was awful. So I'm glad that he's not doing commentary anymore. Maybe for a one-off, just for old time's sake, at some point for one match. Beyond that, the answer is no. I don't think he could even do commentary full-time anymore. I don't think his health will ever be what it was. Fernando said, I've been watching shark shows for Shark Week. Are you a fan of sharks? I am not a fan of sharks. Is Shark Week now? I thought Shark Week was in like fucking August. Fernando asking me I saw Jaws. I've seen Jaws. I've seen Jaws several times. Do I swim? Yes. Do I like swimming? No. I've gone swimming way more recently in the last few months than I have at probably any other point in recent years. And I will probably go swimming again soon when we go to the beach at some point. So I don't like swimming. I would prefer to just relax and read. I'm not a big swimmer. Daniel said, how long until your commemorative NWO title that I know you purchased arrives in the mail? Oh, it's going to be here tomorrow. I paid extra money. I already paid a shit ton of money for the NWO title itself, and I paid even more money for it to be here tomorrow. It's only going to cost me an arm and a leg. I don't really need this arm, do I? Fernando said, I just got a notification on my phone that Adam Driver is strongly being considered for Magneto. What are your thoughts? I saw that yesterday. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't really care about Adam Driver as an actor. He was a very whiny Kylo Ren, and I haven't really seen him. What else have I seen him in? I didn't see that marriage movie that he was in with Scarlett Johansson. I heard that was a great movie, A Marriage Story. I didn't see that movie. I don't know if I've seen anything else with him in it. I don't really care about Adam Driver, so I don't really like him as Magneto. I'm going to be honest. Daniel said, it's funny, leading up to SummerSlam 05, I watched a lot of early heel Shawn Michaels on their on-demand subscription service they had on their website at the time. So when I watched the Hogan match in real time, I thought the big boot was ridiculous, but I just thought that was how heel Shawn Michaels sold LOL. Finding out the backstory after the fact made the match so much funnier. Yeah, that match it's not really as entertaining unless you know the backstory. It's a good match, but it's way funnier knowing the backstory. So as a kid, you're not going to care. If you're an adult, but not really living on the internet, you probably don't care. But when you go back and watch that match, it really is a fascinating main event. And it fucking closed the show. Did it not? Wasn't Shawn and Hogan the main event of that show? I'm pretty sure it was. Let me see. SummerSlam 2005. Or was it Cena and Jericho? I'm pretty sure it was Angle and Hogan. It was. It was a 21-minute match? What the fuck? I gotta go back and watch that match. That's insane. Bro, Batista and JBL for the World Heavyweight title in 9 minutes in a no-holds-barred match. Why even bother at that point? Cena and Jericho for the WWE title, 15 minutes. But Shawn and Hogan, is that the longest Hogan match of his? What is the longest Hulk Hogan match of his career? Genuine question. What is Hulk Hogan's longest match? We're going to ask Google AI. If I ruin our drinking water, I'm sorry. Let's ask Google AI. Oh, the Rock match. Okay. That was a 26-minute match, a 9-second battle against The Rock at WrestleMania 18. Crazy. Anyway, let's see here. Oops. Pulled up the wrong thing. One sec. Ba-da-ba-da. Lost the chat. All right, there we go. Let's see. There we go. There's the chat. Next question. Richie said, but Graham, Triple H threw a sledgehammer through glass. That was main event worthy with a laughing emoji. Yeah. Dude, I thought that main event was underwhelming at the time. And I was in like 8th grade. That is how underwhelming I thought the match was, even in 2009. Not watching it back with 2026 eyes, I thought the match was a dud even back then. I did not watch 25 live. I watched it on DVD. I was grounded when 25 happened. So I told that story before. So I couldn't watch the show at my friend's house at the time. So instead, my mom got it for me on DVD for my birthday a few months later. And even when I watched that show, I'm like, man, this is not a great show. And that main event was kind of a fucking dud. I still think that even now. Fernando said, Leonardo DiCaprio, Christian Bale has been cast for Heat 2. I have not seen Heat 1, and that's probably egregious. I have not even seen Heat 1. I will definitely have to watch it at some point because I've heard it's an amazing movie. Manuel said, regarding Hogan and Shawn Michaels, I remember a podcast that looked into the 2005 fan reactions and how people didn't really think too much about Shawn selling at the time. Even Meltzer did not analyze his selling much. That's interesting. It was also a different time back then. Nowadays, we overanalyze everything. Oh, they lost. Are they leaving? Like, there wasn't as much of that back then. That makes sense that people didn't really think too much of it. And like you said, people may have chalked that up to, oh, that's just how Shawn sells. That's just how Shawn, that tongue twister, that is just how, I'm still fucking up. That is just how Shawn sells as a heel. Don't ask me to say that 5 times fast. Daniel said, not sure if Bayley wants to play that game with TKO. They might offer her a substantial decrease. Ask Sheamus and New Day. Just fucking leave then. Sheamus and New Day did not ask for new contracts. They were in the middle of big time, big money contracts. And then they asked them to restructure. So if you're saying don't even ask for big money because they're just going to, go back on it in a couple of years anyway. Yeah, I agree. Just go to AEW. And I would be shocked if they paid her top money. They don't value Bayley really much at all. I mean, why would they pay her a lot of money to stay if they're just going to keep her in the mid-card, just either use her accordingly or let her go. Like, don't release her, but like, if she wants to leave, let her leave. Fernando said, I never liked escaping the cage. The cage should just be for no interference and no escaping, just for a decisive in pin or submission. I understand, but going over the top of the cage is also a cool stipulation. For the whole, they can't leave sort of thing, which, first of all, has not happened in decades. But second of all, just do Hell in a Cell. Oh, God, we got Trevor in the chat. Trevor is here. This fucking... What did you do? You know, Trevor, what you did. You asked this last week. Trevor, fuck you. Don't be asking what you did when you already know what you did. I said this last time. I hate when Trevor asks what he did, because that tells me that he feels no remorse. You're just also an asshole, Trevor. You're just a fucking prick. Fuck you. Anyway, back to the top of the chat. Let's see. Daniel said, an unpopular opinion. I like Bayley, but losing her won't be a huge loss for the company. Unfortunately, what Lyra said is true about Bayley's standing as far as the 4 horsewomen go. Bayley is not the worst of the 4 horsewomen. She's not. Mercedes is better in the ring, but Bayley is better on the mic. Bayley is the best well-rounded of all 4. I mean, maybe Becky Lynch, actually. Becky Lynch, I think, is the best of the 4. That's my opinion. I think Charlotte might be the worst of the 4 at this point. Her promos aren't really that good, and her matches are very good to great. But you can, I mean, it's also based on positioning on the card. We won't have that conversation today. Bayley, them losing Bayley would be a bigger blow for morale for the women than anything. From an on-air standpoint, I love Bayley. She's one of my favorites. They would not really lose a lot if they lost Bayley on the card. It's like them losing Asuka. They really have not missed a beat. I mean, they didn't lose Asuka, but Asuka took time off after Backlash. We haven't seen her since. Really hasn't been that big of a deal. Bayley will be in that same spot. Now, if she leaves to go to AEW, she's a massive locker room leader, so her leaving will affect that. I think she was way more of a locker room leader than even Sasha Banks was, maybe even Becky Lynch. I think she cares a lot for the women that are there now and in NXT and stuff, so losing that will be a big blow. The on-air product will not make a difference. Daniel said, not to say she's any less talented than the others, but they clearly never viewed her that way. If you're talking about it as far as how she's not the worst of the 4 horsewomen, but if you're saying the least relevant, that is accurate. She has never been the guy or the girl the same way Becky was at one point, Sasha was at one point, Charlotte has kind of always been at one point, or really at all points. Bayley was very, very, very briefly, not as much as the other 3. Fernando said, what will be the all-in women's championship match? Willow versus Mercedes or Willow versus Tekla? It's looking like it's going to be Willow and Tekla, because why else would they make Willow number 1 contender, only to lose to Tekla? And I don't even really like that. We already saw Willow beat Mercedes late last year for the TBS title. Would Mercedes then beat Willow? I don't even really like that. Mercedes and Tekla is a fresher match, so I would prefer to see that, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. Daniel said, injuries aside, do you think Braun not being at a level we assumed he would be has anything to do with deficiencies that you yourself have mentioned, him being an awkward interview, etc.? It's a great question. No, I don't, because I think he's always been an awkward interview, and that didn't stop them from pushing him very heavily early on in NXT and now on the main roster. I think injury did have something to do with that. He got injured, but even then they were fucking up. Like, they could have put the world belt on him late last year, bro. And they didn't. So I don't think, even if that sort of stuff, it's not like I don't think he's a, pain in the ass backstage. I think, honestly, it's just booking inept. I think it's just being inept from a booking standpoint from WWE. I think it has less to do with Breakker and more to do with WWE. Breaker's not like he's a top star. There are things you can work on, like we talked about. His promos have improved. His in-ring is perfectly fine. He was already over. There really is no reason to not push the guy. You don't cool him off. Oh, well, he can't really do an interview outside of the ring, so we're going to cool him off. Like, that made no sense to me. Fernando said, is it a mistake for MJF not to be in the All-In main event? It's not a mistake, but it is kind of fucked up that he would carry the company all year, and then he's not in the main event. I think Omega and Ospreay, for that to be the main event, that's not a mistake. Like, that's a big match, and I get it. But at this point, I would probably make it a triple threat. We talked about that last week on WrestleRant Radio, myself and Mr. Marceau. Nathaniel said, I hope Braun Breaker leaves the Vision at some point. I don't think the Vision does anything for him at this point. I agree, and I agree. The Vision is a dead group, and he is not even the most relevant member of that group. He should absolutely leave and break out on his own. Bon Quivy said that AEW tattoo is going to look nuts when MJF eventually joins WWE. I don't think he has it anymore, and I'm not even sure if it was real in the first place. I think he got that removed a while ago. Have I sold all my stock on Wardlow? Fernando, I have the receipt. I sold my stock on Wardlow fucking 2-3 years ago. Minimum. I have no stock of Wardlow left. He is, in AEW anyway, he's cooked. WWE, there might be a slight chance, but his injury proneness at this point might also be a problem. because he got injured a year ago and has not been back since. That's a fucking issue. Nathaniel said, wow, Edge got booed in Canada. I thought that never happens, and my favorite Edge SummerSlam match will always be him and Cena, and then him and Rollins. Him and Cena was fun. Him and Rollins was much better. That was probably Edge's best SummerSlam match, or at least one of the top two. Yeah, Edge got booed in Canada in 2004, I think. He came back as a babyface from injury, and he was very boring as a babyface. No one wanted to buy into him in that role. It really wasn't until he went heel until he turned things around. As a babyface on his own, at least in 2004, people did not give a shit, which is why he kind of had to go heel in 2005. If people don't boo him, I don't know if he eventually goes heel, or at least as soon as he did and became the rated R superstar. Daniel said, Trevor will never know peace on AskGSM to our fearless leader, or thanks to our fearless leader. He will not. Yeah, fuck Trevor, man. He's a real piece of shit. Nathaniel said, I don't think Roman should, he's here now, so I have no regrets. He says it's the real Trevor, and that's their username, but I'm not exactly sure, but if it is the real Trevor, then fuck him. Nathaniel said, I don't think Roman should have the title for his match with The Rock and Saudi. He absolutely should not, Nathaniel. That would be a massive mistake. Von Quivy said, speaking of Wardlow, his and Braun's trajectories are way more similar than I thought. They're not, though. Braun can still rebound. Wardlow is fucking cooked. He's been cooked for years. They dropped the ball on him so many times. He's also been hurt a few times. He's fucking done for. Braun Breaker, they can easily heat him up tomorrow. He's also a lot younger, I think, than Wardlow. He'll be okay. Wardlow is done for. They're really not that similar. Braun isn't as dead as Wardlow is, but still. You said it yourself, but he might get to Wardlow territory. I don't think he will, but it's not quite that bad yet. Richie said, we need Tyreek. Alexis, log into your burner account. Yeah, I don't know where Tyreek is. I uploaded the chat. We're at the current point of the chat. I've scrolled down enough, and I see no Tyreek. We have Trevor here. He probably already left because he knows what he did. And he doesn't like the fact that I shit on him, but yeah, sorry, Trevor. Be sure to like the video before you leave, but still, fuck you. You can leave whenever you want. Richie said, Adam Driver is all right, but Magneto is not a great choice. Yeah, don't like that casting choice. Do not like that. Thoughts on Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling joining my AEW's website, Richie asked. I think it's great. I don't know if or is that about to happen? Is that official? I don't know, but I think that's cool. I think all the top indies should join the AEW website. I think they'd get more respect out of it than WWE did with all the other companies that they did on their WWE network for. I thought it was cool that WWE did that. But it kind of felt like an ulterior motive where we're like, oh yeah, we'll put Evolve shows on our site. We'll buy the company and take all your talent. But yeah, we'll put Evolve on our website, on the WWE network. Like, that's kind of sketchy. Maple Leaf Pro, though, it's Scott D'Amore's promotion. They've worked with AEW and Ring of Honor before, so them being on my AEW makes a whole lot of fucking sense. Bon Quibby said, early heel Shawn Michaels did kind of sell extremely hokey like he did with versus Hogan. Yeah, so it did make sense that he sold that way when he faced Hogan in 2005, like you said. Daniel said, that convo on Unreal about how Chelsea can't beat certain female wrestlers, I'm sure they've said similar things in the creative room about Bayley. I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have said things about Bayley in regards to like, oh yeah, can't put the top title on her. No one cares. She's not a top talent. I'm sure they have. Emmanuel said, apparently Kevin Nash talked about the TKO pay cuts and seemingly outed Sami Zayn as the one who took a 50% pay cut. He and his co-host name-dropped him and then tried to backtrack it as part of the rumors. Interesting. I did not hear that. Could I see Sami Zayn taking a pay cut? I could. My first choice was Miz. Miz is the first person I think of as like, Miz ain't going anywhere. He might have a $2 million contract. They could offer him $500,000 and he's not going anywhere. But if it was Sammy and or KO, I would not be shocked. They could go to AEW tomorrow and be signed, but I don't know if they want to leave. I don't know if it's Sammy, but that's interesting you mentioned that he was name dropped by Kevin Nash. Fernando said the rise of Obafemi is the reason for Braun Breaker's cool-off. It's really not, though. It's a factor. But they cooled off Braun Breaker months before Obafemi even got called up pro. Braun Breaker was white hot when he turned on Rollins in October. Obafemi debuted on Raw and SmackDown in January, February. They cooled off Breaker in October, November. That's where it started. Nathaniel said, maybe if Rock puts his Brahma Bull belt on the line against Romans, that would be crazy. It would not be, because Rock should not be fighting for any belt, and his own Brahma Bull belt was also a joke, so no. Would I want LeBron on the Knicks? It'd be an interesting visual. It's not going to happen. Why not? I mean, they already have a winning formula as it is, so adding LeBron in the mix, is that really necessary, is my question. Yeah, Daniel agrees with me that the Braun Breaker cool-off was already happening well before Oba got called up. He is right. Millennial Noob said, if WWE sent Natty to the NWA to have matches, who in the NWA's women's division should NWA send to WWE? As far as not signing with them, but like for a one-off? He said, I would like to see Natalia Markova put on some awesome matches on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. I mean, I don't know about awesome matches. I do like Markova, though. Yeah, I would like to see Markova in WWE, whether they sign her or she's on loan to them for like an NXT match or something, like what WWE does with TNA. Yeah, definitely Markova. I don't really know who else from NWA would fit in with WWE. Maybe Kenzie Page. I think Kenzie Page is really good. Kenzie Page probably, or Markova. I would have said Camille when she was still in the NWA. Now she's in AEW, not even fucking sniffing TV time. Who else? Not the Hex. It would probably be one of those two, though. Richie said, Pat McAfee SummerSlam return. Do not dare curse us with that. And listen, this is someone who likes Pat McAfee. I like Pat McAfee. We do not need to see him in a managerial role ever again. If he's back on commentary, that's fine. If he's back in the ring, not in the ring, I like him in the ring. But if he's back doing the Orton shit, fuck no. That stuff was absolute butt cheeks. Absolutely not. That would be terrible. So no thank you. And that's about it. All right, that's all the chats. So we will go to these scheduled questions. You guys can keep sending in comments. Keep sending in comments and questions in the active chat. I will go back to it when we're done with the scheduled questions. So bam, those are the scheduled questions. Let's get going here. Let me pull these up. 1 second. Bam, there we go. Jordan B. from YouTube, their question was, which wrestlers who passed away would you have liked to have interviewed? Always, I mean, this is going to sound questionable given what's come out about it, but Ultimate Warrior was always one of my favorite inspirations for certain reasons. Many years ago, he died before I could even meet him. I feel like interviewing him would have been fascinating. He might have fucking just destroyed me. But here's the thing, though. You can't really interview someone like that without addressing their more questionable, past choices. Unless they're, going to be open and apologetic about it. I don't know if he would have been, because he never really acknowledged it. I don't know if he was that same person, that raging racist and whatnot, when he died as he was many years earlier. He might have been. I have no idea. So maybe not. I take that back. I would also say someone like a Hogan. I actually almost had the chance to interview Hogan many years ago. The problem was, and why we said no, was because of his past, and he wouldn't be open and apologetic about some of the nasty shit that he said. If he can't do that, then I can't interview him. So Hogan and Warrior would have been cool. Macho Man, obviously I never had that opportunity. He died 15 years ago, but that would have been cool. Someone more realistic, though, Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, interviewing him either in character or especially out of character would have been awesome. And unfortunately, he passed away before I could talk to him. So I don't know if that one would have ever happened, but also seeing as how he's Alexis' favorite wrestler, that would have been cool. So I'll say Bray Wyatt for that. His second question, which is today's headline question, what is my favorite WrestleMania rematch that took place at SummerSlam? For me, it's Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam 2022. That's a great one. I was there for that one in Nashville 4 years ago. That was an amazing last man standing match. That might be my second or third favorite SummerSlam rematch or WrestleMania rematch to take place at SummerSlam. As you can see, I wrote down a whole bunch here. We mentioned Hart versus Hart earlier. That's not my favorite because I didn't grow up on it. I've only seen it a few times, but it arguably is one of the best SummerSlam matches, period, and maybe the best cage match in WWE history. Still not my favorite, but it's worth mentioning. I forgot about Eddie and Ray. That's a great one from SummerSlam 05. I didn't write that one down here, but Daniel mentioned that one earlier. Of course, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. Not my favorite. I've only seen it once or twice. Probably more than that, actually. I think that was one of the free matches that I watched on Xfinity when I was a kid that they had available to buy or to watch for free around SummerSlam season. But that's a great match from SummerSlam 95, another ladder match between those two. My personal favorites are Rhodes and Cena. I was there last year for that. That was a WrestleMania rematch. Way better than the Mania match. I liked Punk and Gunther more that weekend, but Rhodes and Cena was a fantastic match. So that would be among my favorites. Becky and Bianca I was also there for both matches at Mania 38. And then I was there for both Cody and Cena matches too. And then at SummerSlam, they had a great match for the Raw Women's Championship. Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar. I was there for the first one, not the second one, but they had a rematch at SummerSlam 2019. Much better than the WrestleMania match, which was really just an angle. They were finally able to have the match they were capable of at SummerSlam in 2019. I think it was a street fight. And it was a great match. It does not get talked about enough. That was a great match, though. My top three favorites, honestly, would probably be Cody and Cena, Brock and Undertaker, or actually four, because I forgot, you mentioned Brock and Roman. That's another favorite of mine, because I was there for that. Rhodes and Cena would probably be four. Brock and Roman, I might put three. Two might be Undertaker and Brock. That was my first WWE pay-per-view, period. That was at Barclays Center in 2015. Great match, lame finish. People were not happy with that, understandably so. I still don't love that finish in retrospect, but it was a fucking brawl, and it was a really fun time. It was an exciting environment for that match. And honestly, though, I totally forgot about this until right before we went live. My favorite WrestleMania rematch to take place at SummerSlam, without a doubt, Edge and Undertaker Hell in a Cell from 2008. That was the year I started watching wrestling. I watched the play-by-play of the match as it happened, and I was like, holy shit, he sent him to hell, that's crazy. I didn't think it was real, obviously. But I remember reading about the match and really liking it. And then I finally saw it years later, loved it. I've rewatched it many times since then. Really, really like that match. That's one of my favorite SummerSlam matches, period. So, favorite WrestleMania rematch to take place at SummerSlam has got to be Edge and Undertaker from SummerSlam 08. Nike Fan 02 from YouTube has got a couple of questions here. First one being, he says, I might be in the minority here, but out of all the returns we got from wrestlers coming back to WWE, Baron Corbin's return might be my favorite this year. How do you think his second run in WWE will go? And do you think he has the potential to become World Heavyweight Champion this time around? He will definitely not win the World Heavyweight title. Baron Corbin could have been a world champion many years ago when he first got called up. He won Money in the Bank. Then they fucked it up. He challenged for the top title a few more times in 2019, but at that point he was boring. He was like doing the Constable Corbin shit, and that sucked. That really wasn't all that entertaining. I think it's too late for him to win a world title. He could have won the NXT championship a few years ago, and he didn't. He had a few opportunities and failed, but he could win the United States championship from Trick. He's held that belt before. He had a very brief run with it in 2017. I could see him as the United States champion. I hope they get it right with Baron Corbin, though, because he did some great work in NXT. When he got brought back to NXT in 2023, he had a great run there in the main world title picture, in the tag team scene, in the mid-card scene, and they never really fully capitalized on him after that. They brought him back to the main roster to do fucking nothing, and then they fired him. They let him go. They let his contract expire. So I hope they utilize him accordingly this time and not let him just flounder in the mid-card. That was a complete waste of Baron Corbin. I don't think he gets to the main event scene. I think he's going to be perfectly slotted at the mid-card scene, and I think that might be where he belongs. They also have enough heels on SmackDown now. They could turn Punk or Cody at some point. They have Orton as a heel on SmackDown. They have Drew as a heel on SmackDown. When they come back, you have Sami Zayn kind of as a heel. They have Gunther as a heel. They could bring back Kevin Owens as a heel. So they don't really need Corbin as a top heel on SmackDown. I don't really know if that's where people want to see him anyway. But mid-card, upper mid-card, I feel like is a perfectly fine role for him, even though he will not win the World Heavyweight Championship. Not even close. I don't think anyway. His second question, when CM Punk beats Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, who do you think Punk should feud with going into the fall? I would love to see Punk go heel. I think that would make sense because he kind of acted like an asshole in which the fashion in which he was brought back last week on Raw. I don't know if he will turn heel. I think he should, though. Regardless of whether he goes heel or not, I think him and Gunther again would be cool because they only had one match last year. The thing with Gunther is if he's not going to beat Punk, then probably not. because Gunther already got a whole bunch of shots a few months ago. So Punk and Gunther I do want again. Probably not anytime soon. Gunther would have to win if that were the case, and I don't think he would. I don't really care to see Punk and Balor again. They did that match a few times earlier this year. Had great matches, a good feud, but they don't need to run it back. You only have a finite amount of Punk matches left. I would not really use too many of them on people he's already worked with enough. Like, you can continue him and Cody. I would be fine with that. Him and Orton, for old time's sake, at least for a one match, would be fun. Him and Royce Keys at some point, I want to see. Who else? You can run back him and Sammy as a feud. That would be great. Him and Drew, I don't really care to see again right now. I know they have history. You can have them run it back at some point. I'm kind of good on that for now. They really squeezed all that they could out of that 2 years ago, so I'm going to say no on that. Kevin Owens really is my number one feud I want to see. Punk and Owens is the number one feud I want to see with Punk on SmackDown. I don't know if it's going to happen. That's the feud I want to see for the promos alone. But his next feud post SummerSlam, if it's not Cody, I will say probably Sami Zayn would make sense. He still has unfinished business with Punk from when he beat him for the title last week. His third question, if you were booking WWE and asked to write a story of the New Day breaking up and competing in a triple threat match for a Kofi or Big E's WWE Championship, how would you have booked it and who would you have put over? So if you're talking from when they were WWE Champion, either in 2019 or 2021, in 2021, when Big E was WWE Champion, I probably would have preferred that. Xavier Woods just won King of the Ring, but Kofi wasn't doing anything. He could have been jealous of Big E for winning the belt that he never got back. That would have been great. I think it was more likely to turn Big E heel in 2019 to have him feud with Kofi over the WWE title. That was where I thought they were going, and they did not. The issue with that, though, is that Woods would have gotten lost in the shuffle. And then with Big E, I just don't think he would have made for a great heel. They hadn't really fully capitalized him as a singles babyface yet, which they finally did in 2020, and he made the most of it, and he had a great push from that point forward, and he finally did win the WWE Championship. If you turn him heel in 2019, I don't think he wins the belt. I think it just I think he just turns on him, and then it fizzles out. So I will say, if you were going to do that match, then I would have done it in 2021. Because at that point, Kofi would have already had his moment as WWE Champion. I would rather see Kofi as the heel than Big E. And I think that would have been more entertaining. Now, I know they kind of turned on Big E in late 2024, but none of them were at the WWE Championship scene at that point, so it just wasn't going to happen. But yeah, they were never going to do Kofi and Big E for the WWE title in 2024, 2025. But in 2021, I probably would have just had Kofi and Xavier turn on Big E then and do the triple threat for the championship. Maybe not a Mania, but probably like a Rumble or something like that. No L from Facebook. His question was, what run do I think was the best version of Kurt Angle? His WWE run or his TNA run? He was in TNA longer. I'm going to say his better run was WWE because he had, more championships won. He did have a lot of great matches in TNA, but he was just on a bigger stage in WWE. The matches with Michaels were amazing. The matches with Brock were great. The matches with Taker were great. Cena. The list goes on and on. In TNA, he did have a lot of really good matches, but his body got more cooked as years went on. And he wasn't in a great spot, health-wise in TNA. He took a lot of time off for DUIs and painkillers and stuff like that. He was doing the whole Perk Angle thing basically at that point in real life. So I'll go WWE run, even though his TNA run was fucking great. Their second question, serious what-if question. Chris Jericho joined TNA back in 2007. How would that butterfly effect go for WWE? I don't really think much changes. Jericho was never a main player in WWE. If you're asking does TNA finally catch up to WWE with Jericho? They would not have. They brought in fucking Kurt Angle, among other big names, and none of them really made that much of a difference. You bring in Jeff Hardy, same thing. Jericho in 2007 would have been a great get for TNA. We could have gotten him and AJ Styles, him and Kurt Angle again, him and Samoa Joe, and all the people they had working on top at that point in time. It would have elevated TNA for a little bit, but not enough to where it would have made a difference. And for WWE, the only thing we would have been really, I mean, Jericho had a great return run in 07 and 08. It would have deprived us of heel Jericho. It would have deprived us of that great Shawn and Jericho story. But Shawn still would have retired at some point. He would have just been working with someone else instead. They would have just put the belt on someone else in 08. Maybe JBL again. If it wasn't Jericho, it probably would have been someone like a JBL. And that's about it. I mean, I think Jericho would have always gone back to WWE. He probably would have been in a TNA for like 2 or 3 years and then gone back to WWE in 09 or 2010. So I don't really think much drastically would have been different if I had to be completely honest with you. I feel like he would have, had some great matches and success in TNA, but not enough to where it would have really put like TNA on the map, in my own personal opinion. At Iwagu91 from Twitter said, as of now, what are your current thoughts on Mark Davis' singles run? It has exceeded expectations. I've never really been a big Mark Davis fan. I did like Aussie Open, but on his own, Davis was pretty fucking boring. He's a good worker, but as a character, he was really dull. But he's really been ripping it up since he came back and he won the national championship. He's had some really good matches this year since Jake Doyle got hurt and now he's back. They took a chance on Mark Davis, and it's paid off. I'd rather see that run go to someone like a Lance Archer or a Brian Cage, mind you. But they've been hurt, and they're kind of cooked. They're a lot older, I think, than Davis is, if I had to guess. But no, he's had a good run on his own. Some really good matches with Jack Perry, Will Ospreay, among others. So I did see the match with Speedball on Collision, and that was a good match. So yeah, I think Davis has done really well for himself on his own. His second question, do I see Konosuke Takeshita regaining the international title at All In after the G1 Climax concludes? I do. I think once he's back from the G1 Climax in Japan, and if he faces Fletcher again at All In, as I think he will, I think he gets back to International Championship. I think that's where they're going with that. His third question, which promotion do I think Leon Slater should go to after his TNA run ends, WWE or AEW? It's a good question. I think WWE is still the better fit because he's already competed there a lot. He's had a lot of exposure already in WWE, NXT, on the main roster. So already has that going for him. In AEW, yes, he is a better fit for AEW style-wise. But what would they even do with him? Like Mike Bailey's had a really good run in the last year, but like he's only at a certain level. I kind of fear that would happen with Leon, where I don't really feel like he would make it to like TNT title level and stay there. He would just be kind of there as like a fucking 4th or 5th member of the Rascals. Like I feel like he'd be at that level, like where Ace Austin went over to AEW and he's done some stuff, but he hasn't really won anything of note. He's just kind of there. I feel like Ace Austin would have been a bigger star at NXT. And that's how I feel about Leon Slater. So I prefer to see him in WWE. He'd have better matches probably in AEW, but they have such a stacked roster as it is. I feel like in AEW more than WWE right now, he would just get lost in the shuffle. So I would say go to WWE over AEW, but we'll find out soon because his TNA contract is probably up, if I had to guess, in the next 6 months or so. Then last question here from @millennial_noob, who was here earlier. He said, how would you book the feud between Io Sky and Liv Morgan heading into SummerSlam? To me, I would have Liv Morgan Liv Morgan mention Io's friendship with Asuka and Kairi Sane instead of mentioning Rhea Ripley, and have Io Sky prove that she's Asuka's successor. I like that story. I wouldn't really mention Rhea either. I know Liv has history with Rhea, but Rhea's not coming over to save Io, or at least she shouldn't. She should be exclusive to SmackDown at this point and keep them separate, so it means more when they inevitably reunite. Yeah, I would not mention Rhea. They're not going to mention Kairi Sane. She's fired, so they're not going to mention her probably. They can mention Asuka. Now, the thing is, would Asuka come in and save her? You've asked that before. I think the answer is no. I think Asuka's time off will last a lot longer than a month or two. But they can mention Asuka, and the whole story could be that she has to beat Liv again in order to serve as Asuka's successor. I think that would be a nice story to tell. I like that. It's more interesting than having the Judgment Day beat up Io Sky every week. I can tell you, I don't give really a fuck about that. I still do think Stephanie is going to be Io's backup. I know Soul came to Io's aid last night. She needs more than that. I still think it's going to be Stephanie. But I also thought while watching the Bayley segment, could they reunite Bayley and Io from Damage Control? They never really told that story of them getting back on the same page. I know Bayley's busy with Lyra, but maybe she reunites with Io for a little bit. Very possible, very possible. So Time will tell as to whether they actually do that or not. Anything's more interesting than what they're doing right now with EO and Liv, which is just kind of nothing. It's just not overly interesting right now between them at all. All right, we will wrap up here after we go through these final few comments. Bon Quivy said, how long until Solo turns on LA Knight and Keys? Bro, that was the first thing I thought of last night. I said, oh, fuck. Are they going to do Solo turning on Knight and Keys at SummerSlam? And that's why we're doing the 6-man. That would be awful. I am not convinced that Solo is officially a face until after SummerSlam. If it doesn't happen there, I don't think it's going to happen. We got to get through SummerSlam, and we'll see. Did I enjoy the Danhausen and Nick stuff? I did, Nathaniel. Richie said, tomorrow was the date that Mike Santana posted on his Instagram story, and a few days ago, seemingly hinting at his free agency status. Does he take a step backwards and go back to AEW, or does he go to NXT? He's got to go to NXT. I also think he's not going to be a world champion in WWE, but he has a much better chance in WWE at success than AEW. In AEW, how do they, I doubt Tony Khan would resist the urge to have him feud again with Santana, or Mike Ortiz. No, Mike Santana to have him feud with Ortiz, excuse me. And they did that before he left, and no one cared. They had a good street fight, but no one gave a fuck. And those guys aren't even on the show. Eddie Kingston's not even on AEW television, and he hasn't been for months. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. You know, I would not have him go back to AEW. I think NXT is the way to go. NXT could use more star power right now, more single stars, and I think Santana would be a nice fit there. And he also already has the exposure, like I mentioned earlier about Leon Slater. Richie says, man, those early 2010 Warrior racist rants were rough. Was it 2010? I started following him, like his inspirational stuff in like 2011. I feel like his racist rants were like in the middle of the 2000s. Not excusing it, I'm just saying that. I also, when I started following his work, and not in WWE even, wasn't really aware or follow too much of his in-ring stuff. I wasn't aware of any of that. I was also in high school at the time. I was very ignorant as far as that stuff goes. I don't know if the racist stuff was from 2010, though. It was definitely mid-2000s. I know that because he did a talk at, I think at UConn or something here in Connecticut. And it did not go well. It's a very famous video. Richie said, that tractor spot at SummerSlam was wild. It must have been awesome to see that happen live. Yeah, I was in the press box with Mr. Marceau. It was a fucking phenomenal match and a crazy spot. That might be still to this day Alexis' dad's favorite match. He still talks about that to this day. He thinks that's the greatest match of all time. Nike fan said Punk and Oba, Punk versus Big Bill. I would not immediately thrust Big Bill into the fucking WWE title picture. I also think Big Bill's going to Raw, so I don't think it's going to happen. Oba is also on Raw, so I would not do Punk and Oba either. Bon Quivy said, not counting who I've interviewed, who has been my least favorite wrestler interaction? Oh, that's a good question. Jerry Lawler was always on that list. I felt like he was very don't give a fuck about you when I met him back in 2009. I was in middle school at the time. To be fair, we kind of gypped him on a couple signatures. Like, we went up to his table expecting that $5 would get us like 3 autographs, but each autograph was like $20. But they were nice enough to take our $5 and have him, and he signed like some other stuff for us. He signed like 2 or 3 things for $5, but I felt like he just did not give a fuck about me and my brother when we met him. So, Jerry Lawler, I did not enjoy that interaction. There were a few others. Definitely a few others. Oh, Bubba Ray I've talked about. I mean, I've interviewed him, but also my initial interactions with him were not overly warm or welcoming. Let's put it that way. I never really enjoyed those interactions I had with him. Who else? There have been others. There's definitely been others, but those are the 2 that stand out. Is Triple H in any hot water? Currently, no. Can't speak for the future, but and I mean, he will be the scapegoat. If they start doing poorly again, business-wise, Triple H will be the scapegoat, no doubt. How much do you think the pandemic happening not long after AEW's debut affected them in the long run? It did affect them, but honestly, like, they came out of COVID really hot. AEW had a lot of momentum post-COVID. So it's not as if they were never the same from pre-COVID. They were hotter coming out of COVID than they were before COVID. So it did hurt them a little bit, but them signing that deal with Warner when they did fucking saved them. Because if they had to sign that deal during COVID, they probably would have been cut. Thankfully, they signed it right before COVID, and they were fine. Do I see Kyrie having a third run of the company? I don't, but I wouldn't be shocked if she did. I mean, what would be the point why would she want to come back for a third time? I mean, she left on her own terms the first time. The second time, she got fucking fired. Why would she think the third time would be any different? Unless she was just there to put people over again. I mean, I don't see it happening, but it's not completely impossible. Why say, do you think any of the women's top stars, Yogi Spangucci said, why do you think any of the top women, any of the women's top stars, do any of the politicking as the men top guys seem to do? No, I think there's more politicking with the men than there are the women. If I had to guess if anyone was a politicker in that company, Ronda Rousey definitely was one, I'm sure, when she was there. Charlotte, I don't really see that now, but I could have seen her being a politician at one point, but maybe not. I don't know. Definitely not Bayley. Maybe Sasha. Becky to an extent, but not to a point where I think where it hurts the product. I think she wants to put more people over than anything, to be honest with you. Bianca, no. Rhea, no. I don't see being a politician at all. So my answer is no. I think it happens way more with the men than the women. Better year? What would it? Fernando said better Tina year in your opinion. TNA's best year was probably a year where I wasn't watching. Probably 05 or 06. I wasn't watching TNA at that point. I did not start watching TNA until 08. And by that point, their boom, quote unquote, was kind of over. In the years that I have been watching TNA, my favorite year of TNA was 2012. They had an amazing roster, some great storylines, week-to-week television that was live, great pay-per-views, way better than what WWE was putting out at that point. That, to me, was my favorite year of TNA. Nathaniel said, you wish JBL was Shawn Michaels' final opponent. I don't. That would have been terrible. No thanks. Yoey Spangucci said, you say Santana has NXT champ, or as NXT champ. I do. I think Mike Santana could absolutely be NXT champion. If Joe Hendry could be TNA champion and NXT champion, I don't see why Mike Santana can't do the same. Yoey Spangucci said, is there any hope for Alexis King? No, I think he kind of is at his ceiling. I think if they saw him being anything bigger than he is, then he would have amounted to that by now. He might get fired before he even hits the main roster. I wouldn't be shocked. Nathaniel said, I think Punk will be champion until WrestlePalooza or Royal Rumble. And maybe even longer, we'll see. Yoey Spangucci said, do you think had Warrior lived, he would have done stuff to piss people off again? Definitely. I mean, it wasn't happening that early. I mean, he was only back with WWE for a few months. It might have been a few more months before he did something that would have got himself fired, a la Hogan in 2015. Richie said, maybe it was mid to late 2000s. I think 2010, 2011 is when I think I saw it because I started using YouTube a lot. Yeah, I don't know. We would have seen it in the mid 2000s when it happened. I think it became a bigger story with Warrior, the whole racist stuff, in the 2010s. In the late 2000s, early 2010s, when the internet really started to ramp up. Yoey Spangucci said, do you think Brett would have still been wrestling in the Ruthless Aggression era, or would he have joined TNA? I don't think Brett would have gone to TNA. I don't think Brett would have ever gone to TNA. Would he have continued to wrestle in the Ruthless Aggression era? Maybe not for that much longer. He would have come back to WWE at some point, maybe post-WCW, but the Montreal Screwjob was so bad. Oh, is that what you're saying? Okay. Well, no, okay, so you're saying if he didn't get hurt, would he have gone back to TNA, or would he have gone back to WWE, or gone to TNA? I don't know, man. I think I would say Ruthless Aggression. I just don't see Bret Hart in TNA. I know Sting went there, so maybe he would have gone there for Sting. I'll say he would have gone back to WWE, if only for maybe one match or two. Richie said, I also remember watching that garbage match he had with Orlando Jordan, I want to say. It was with Orlando Jordan, not Elijah Burke. He said, I got the two mixed up, but he said after the match he was the future and, well, yeah. Orlando Jordan was most definitely not the future. Yeah. Richie says Warrior 1,000% would have been an orange diaper man supporter. Yeah, he probably would have been. Unfortunately. I think his wife definitely is, so, I mean, we kind of know that much. What does that tell you? Do I still keep in touch with Tommy Dreamer? I don't keep in touch with him. Anytime I see him in person, we talk and he remembers me. I don't text. We don't follow each other on Twitter or anything. Anytime I see him though, he's always cool. We chat. I have not interacted with Tommy since Royal Rumble weekend last year when I saw him at WrestleCon. Fernando said, I know you're going to make fun of me but I also about it, but I think with hard work, Big Bill can develop into a Kevin Nash and Sid Vicious type of big man. I'm not going to make fun of you for that. I think Big Bill is actually kind of great. My only thing I would not make fun of you for, but say in the opposite of that, is that Big Bill is 39 now. I think it's too late for him to become a Kevin Nash or a Sid Vicious type of wrestler. I feel like we're kind of past that point, but I do hope he can be successful because I think Big Bill is actually quite good. I thought his TNA run was great, and then AEW brought him in and did fuck all with him. So I hope he can actually have some success in WWE, but time will tell. Yoey Spangucci says, at one point, did TNA and AEW have their best shots at becoming WWE legit competitors? No. WWE is so big, they were never going to get overtaken by either company. Definitely not fucking TNA. AEW always had a bigger shot, but WWE is so established, AEW will never, ever catch up to that. They just won't. WWE will not go out of business and AEW will live on. That's just not going to happen. WCW came closer, but at that point, WWE wasn't as big then as it is now. So, no. TNA never had a shot. Emmanuel said, an alternative is different than a real competitor. Emmanuel said, might leave soon, but non-wrestling related question. Do you believe in superhero movie fatigue? You know, I was just listening to some people talk about this in a podcast I listened to. There is such a thing, but there is fatigue with everything, man. Sequels, remakes, big IPs, sports movies or whatever. You can make that argument for fucking anything. But it doesn't really 1,000% ring true until the superhero movies don't do well. When they start to consistently not do well, then it's true. Now, are the movies as great creatively as they were 10 years ago with Marvel? No, they're not. There are some gems, but they're not as consistently strong as they used to be. But for every, the Marvels that did not do well at all, or every Supergirl that did not do well, and now I'm picking female-led superhero movies, which isn't fair. But for any one of those, you have Superman, which did fucking massive box office numbers a year ago. You have Doomsday that I'm sure will do well. Spider-Man I'm sure will do well. Fantastic Four did well enough. Deadpool and Wolverine was massively successful. So it is a thing, but it's not as much of a thing as people make it out to be. Yoey Spangucci asked, do I see Seth hanging it up within the next 5 years? Isn't he early 40s? Next 5 years, I'll say no, but it's not impossible. I think he might go a little longer than that, if only maybe as a part-timer. Nathaniel said, when do I think Becky and Bianca return? Becky should be back soon. She's not her. They're just not using her. Bianca will not be back anytime soon. She hasn't even given birth yet. So Bianca will not be back until at the very earliest, probably next WrestleMania. Maybe the Rumble. Fernando said, who do you see becoming the next crossover star like Rock, Cena, and Batista in both wrestling and movies? Nobody. I don't. I know MJF wants to be in that conversation. He's not quite there yet. If he wants to be in that conversation, he's got to stop doing movies like fucking Happy Gilmore 2 and all this other shit. I mean, it's a nice start, but he's not going to be box office level unless he starts to do actual movies and show what he can do as an actor and not shaking his ass in Happy Gilmore 2. So maybe MJF, but no one else really comes close. It's not going to be Roman or Rollins or fucking Oba or anyone else. Fernando said, what were your thoughts on Test? And what if he had never had substance issues and stayed alive? I always thought Test was good. I think I wasn't really following his work at the time because I wasn't watching wrestling back in the day. But Test I thought was good. I thought, maybe they could have done more with him when he was around. He kind of had a big chance at a big push in the late 90s and it never really materialized. I think they could have done more with Test. He kind of reminds me a lot of Big Cass, not only because they look alike, but just in terms of being a big man, and I think he could work, right? Test could work. I don't really remember, so. And they also gave him a second shot in the mid-2000s when he was on ECW. Would have been cool to see Test in a TNA or something like that. Nathaniel said, do I wish Edge and Bret Hart had a singles feud? That would have been cool if Bret Hart didn't retire. And are their careers similar? No, not really. I mean, they're both Canadian, but Bret was always way better in the ring than Edge. Edge had a way better promo than Bret Hart. Bret Hart was the face of a generation. Edge just was not. He was a top star in his era, but he wasn't the guy. Bret Hart, at least briefly, was the guy. And people will never look at Edge as being like the top 10 greatest of all time. Edge is phenomenal. He's not among the greatest of all time. Yobi Smaguchi said, who do you think Bret seems to be at odds with? Or why do I think Bret seems to be at odds with Martha and Diana? I don't know. Maybe because, I don't know. I mean, he works with WWE. They don't. I mean, maybe they're, I don't know. I think maybe just how they, oh, actually, you know what? I think I do have an idea. I can't speak to it personally because I have no idea. But if I had to take a guess, it's probably because Bret thinks, and he may have even said this, I think Bret thinks that they are doing Owen Hart's legacy a disservice by not working with WWE and not allowing them to put him in the Hall of Fame and air his footage and all this other shit, which I don't really necessarily agree with. I mean, that's Owen's widow, his wife. I can see where he's coming from. But now they're honoring him in AEW, so who gives a shit? You know what I mean? We're seeing some footage of him there, and he's in the fucking video game for AEW and whatnot. So that might be honestly where it comes from. It might be other stuff, it probably is, but I feel like that's a very big factor. And he doesn't like the fact that they won't just move on and work with WWE like he has. And I think if that's the case, I feel like he would need to get over that. Do they even still do the Warrior Award? They do not. Richie made that clear as well. They do not. They have not done that in a few years. I think they dropped that, especially when they fired his wife. They fired Dana Warrior a few years ago. Who in wrestling do I see running a very successful promotion? If someone wanted to become a promoter, it's usually the people you don't expect, right? Like some random manager or some shit. Like Scott D'Amore. Like I never really thought he would run his own wrestling promotion, and that's seemingly doing well. I don't know. I have no idea. Someone that has a great mind for the business. Someone like a Kevin Owens or something like that I think would be cool. Running his own promotion much later down the road. Roman wouldn't give a fuck. Cena would not do that. Punk, I honestly, I'll say CM Punk. CM Punk is a great mind for the business, I feel, and would be, I feel like he'd be a good promoter. Just given what I've seen from him with like when he was really at the apex of Collision and stuff like that, I feel like he could make that his own. Maybe in NXT someday, we'll see. Richie said, fans lobbied for WWE to rename it to the Shad Gaspard Award. Yeah, the Warrior Award, that would have been great. Trevor said he's seeing, I hate Trevor, but we can agree on this. We're both seeing Spider-Man. The issue with Spider-Man coming out when it is, and I've said this before, it comes out the weekend of SummerSlam. So if I'm going to SummerSlam, I can't see it that weekend. I also want to see it with Alexis, and she's not going with me, so I'll have to see it after the fact because I'll be flying out if I do go to SummerSlam that Thursday. I would see it Wednesday, but it's not out that fucking day, so I have to wait until I come back, which sucks. Yoey Smaguchi said ECW Test looked like he was on every roid in existence. I know. I'm sure he was. Was Test ever seriously over? Yeah, he was. In late 99, I feel like he was pretty over. When he was working with Stephanie and Shane, I feel like he was pretty over at that point. Test had a great big boot. Yes, he did. Richard said MJF will be in Violent Night 2 as the end of this year. I did see that. His stock continues to rise. Might be AEW's biggest star. Oh, he definitely is. I'd say he's a few years away from being a household name, potentially. He could be, especially if he joins WWE. MJF has not peaked. I completely agree with that. And everything you said is accurate as well. Sometimes you got to start with the sequels and like the lower level movies before you get to like the bigger stuff. If he can show that he can act enough where he can be successful in the acting realm, then good for him. For wrestling fans, at least, Richie said. Yoey Smaguchi said, it's ironic seeing Test do an 07 interview about how he didn't want to be the next wrestler to pass away early, and then like a year and a half later, ... Yeah, that's sad. I didn't know that he said that. That sucks. Richie says, this is terrible, but it's true. He said, ironic that his name was Test, and he probably never took a single one with a needle emoji. Hey, Richie, that you're probably not wrong. That's pretty funny. You're probably not wrong. But at the same time, I think he probably did take one. I think he got fired from WWE because he failed their wellness test and he refused to go to rehab or whatever, right? So you're probably not wrong. Nathaniel said, I think Edge is top 15 or 20. You're probably right. Top 10, no. 15 or 20, might still be pushing it, but maybe. Maybe. Like all wrestlers of all time, probably not. But in WWE, probably. Give me back shots. Marceau said, do you think Brett takes himself too seriously? Yes, he does. Love Brett. Funny guy. Has a lot of great opinions, but also takes himself too seriously indeed. Richie said, Sami Zayn can run his own promotion, call it the Orphanage, if you know, you know. Or would that be him or his alter ego? I don't know if it would be necessarily Sami Zayn. Give me back shot said, why do some people think had Owen lived, he would have been gone from Blue Blazer, or he would have gone from Blue Blazer to eventually WWF champ? Love Owen, but no way. He wouldn't have. There's no way. Owen Hart was never going to be WWE champion in the fucking Attitude Era. Maybe if he went to WCW or TNA or something, but Owen Hart, if they weren't going to put the belt on him when they did in the mid-90s, they were never going to put the belt on him. Do I think Fallon Henley will eventually surpass JC? I think she can, and I hope she will, because I think she's actually a lot better than JC Jane, yes. Why do I think Hunter insists on playing the wrestling or the waiting game until it's too late? Gotta let it play out. Like, listen, I get it. He likes the waiting game. I like the waiting game too, but he waits too long sometimes. We saw what happened with Sheamus when you wait too long. He just fucking leaves. He's not going to wait another 5 years and take a pay cut just to win one title. I think he likes to drag things out, but he drags some stuff out for a little too long. Tony Khan has done the same. You got to find the sweet spot. You can't blow shit off in a month. Vince used to do that, but Triple H also sometimes will take too long to pay off certain stories, and sometimes it fucks over some of the people involved. He wants to give everyone their moment, and that's great, but sometimes some people will not get their moment, or you can't wait too long, otherwise people won't care. So sometimes you have to pivot when it makes sense. Where do I think Edge is without the injuries? Give me back shot said. That's a good question. I don't think he's drastically different than where he is. It's not as if the injuries prevented Edge from becoming the guy in WWE. Edge was never going to be the guy. He was always right where he was going to be. He hit his ceiling as far as being a top world champion and a top star in that company without ever being the face of Raw. He was the face of SmackDown. He's had some success in AEW as well. But it's not as if Edge would have had this gloriously amazing, that much more of an amazing career without the injuries. He still became like a fucking 12-time world champion, a 10 or 11-time world champion, you know? So I don't think Edge is, I don't think his legacy changes all that much without the injuries. Fernando said, is there a Back to the Future video game? It sounds like a slam dunk. There is. They did a Back to the Future video game that I heard was really good, that I actually played, and I remember being really good. I've heard that it has good reviews as well, from the late 2000s. I played that on Wii, I think, or GameCube or some shit. Pretty sure it was Wii. But yes, they did do a Back to the Future video game many years ago. Nathaniel said, do you think Kevin Owens will ever return? Yes, I do. What inning are we in for the Bloodline? It feels like we're in the fucking 15th inning. And we've been in extra innings since 2024. Richie said, let's go, Hunter. Yeah, speed up your shit, please. Fernando said, should El Generico return for a little while to keep Sammy busy for a little while? No, I think we're so past the El Generico shit. Most people would not care. We already have enough fake. Listen, we already did the El Grande Americano shit. We don't need Sami Zayn doing the exact same thing. So no, Sami Zayn right now in his current character is great. He has momentum. We don't need El Generico on WWE television for more than just a one-off. Give me back shots said, which wrestler is the most at fault for why they're not at a higher level? Ooh, good question. Jeff Hardy definitely fucked himself over with all of his issues. He definitely could have had more success. Like that question that was asked about Edge makes more sense for someone like a Jeff, whose fault it was. Like Edge had success regardless. Jeff still had a lot of success, but he could have been a much bigger star even than he was had he not fucked himself over. And he only has himself to blame for that. There's definitely another name that I'm not thinking of whose fault it was that they're not a bigger star than they are. Definitely Jeff. Big Bill. Big Bill's one of them. I don't know if he's a prominent example, but he was being pushed pretty heavily a few years ago, like many years ago in WWE. And his intoxication issues really kind of fucked him over. And he got fired from WWE because of it. That really set back his career. And who knows where it would be now had he stayed clean, you know? Trying to think of who else has kind of self-sabotaged their own career There's definitely a lot of names you can point to. I don't know. Richie said, long-term, baby. He said, I project LA Knight to win the title of WrestleMania 50 in Night 12 main event. Me too. Because at that point, absolutely no one will care, and people will say that he's overpushed. He's a loser. And that's finally when he's going to win it, when it doesn't matter anymore. Does MJF not get enough blame for unintentionally undercutting Wardlow's momentum? You're right. He does not. He should get more flack for that. There were a lot of other factors. The booking fucked over Wardlow more. Injuries fucked over Wardlow more. But really, the first instance of Wardlow cooling off was MJF taking away from his moment by losing to him and then immediately making it about himself back in 2020. So yes, MJF does not get enough blame for that. You are correct. He is not the sole reason why Wardlow's in the spot that he's in, but he is a factor, at least an initial factor. Fernando said, what if Mr. Kennedy was able to behave backstage in WWE? He would have been more successful, yes, but I think it was less of an attitude issue and more of an injury issue, and people just not wanted to work with him because they feared that they would get hurt. I don't think it was an attitude thing. He also got popped for the wellness policy. It was a series of things with Kennedy. Had it not been for those issues, he definitely would have been in a Miz-like spot where he would have won the belt, world championship, at least a few times. Give me Backshot said, do you think Triple H has any personal issue with LA Knight? I do. I actually honestly believe that. That might sound like a tinfoil hat theory, but yeah, I mean, he definitely does. I mean, if he saw LA Knight as a top star, there's a difference between seeing someone as a top star and then having an issue with them. I think LA Knight rubs people the wrong way because he knows what he wants and he will not do dumb bullshit. And Triple H probably does not like that. So yes, I do not think they're very close. I don't think they see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. And that is why he's in the spot that he's in. Richie mentioned Carlito. Yeah, I mean, Carlito was I don't really think Carlito would have ever won a world championship. Carlito did self-sabotage his career with wellness policy stuff and being lazy. He's talked about that. I don't think he would have gotten much farther than where he was in the mid-card. Give Me Backshot said, how do you think Owen Hart would have done in WCW had he left with Brett? Probably pretty well. I think he would have done well for himself. He would not have won any world championships over there with Hogan there and the Nashes, but towards the end, could he have won a world championship in like 2000 when it was like fucking Jeff Jarrett and Booker T fighting for the belt? Yeah, probably. Nathan Jones was greener than goose shit. Yeah, he sucked. Nathan Jones was awful. Fernando said Alberto Del D-Bag. I don't think so. Del Rio didn't really self-sabotage himself in WWE. He got fired in 2014 because of that incident, but I think that wasn't really his fault. He did beat someone up, but they kind of made a racist remark. So it was kind of less his fault and more of the person who he attacked. He shouldn't have done that, but still, it was kind of more justified. Del Rio was still a 4-time world champion. And, I mean, it wasn't attitude issues that cost him anything in that company. So I would not say Del Rio. Lars Sullivan, yes. He had some detractors backstage, a checkered past. He also got hurt, I think, too. Yeah, he also had issues. Velveteen Dream is probably the biggest reason, our biggest example. Thank you. That was definitely the person I was thinking of, Richie. Thank you for that. If it wasn't for his own issues, he definitely would have been a much bigger star than he was. Austin Aries is another one. Totally agree with that. I would also say Tessa Blanchard is a big example. She would absolutely have been facing Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania by now, had she not shot herself in the foot. Give Me Backshot said, do you think Wardlow resents MJF at all for any of that? I don't think so. Maybe a small part of him does, but at this point I feel like the focus has kind of shifted to his own injuries and Tony Khan resenting him for not doing more with him. He probably had an issue with him at the time for that, and I wouldn't blame him if he did. Now, does he resent him for that? He probably doesn't even really think about it. It's been so long. Give Me Backshots. LA Knight is here saying, let me talk to you. We got a lot of backshots going around tonight. LA Knight's not winning a world title. He's not winning a world title. He'll get backshots, I guess, from whoever, but he will not get a world championship. This stream is officially off the rails. The Give Me Backshots Marceau said, who becomes world champ first, Logan Paul or Dom? Good question. Probably Logan Paul. I'd rather see Dom as champion, but probably Logan Paul. Did I see Jack Swagger lose his slap fight? I did see that. That guy, Jack Swagger, was already kind of weird from some shit that I've seen him post online. Taking constant shots to the head like that will only make him lose his mind even more. That is, the whole power slap thing is stupid anyway, but he got his shit rocked. Not good. Not good. Fernando said, I have heard from a few folks that Owen Hart was going to get the cerebral assassin character before dying. What, instead of Triple H? Is that accurate? I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you're kidding or not. I don't know. Yeah, that's frying me, dude. Richie said, talking about what, LA Knight? Yeah, where the fuck did that come from? Fernando said, Teddy Hart, question mark. Teddy Hart is also a great example of someone that has self-sabotaged themselves, for sure. How big of a star he would have been, I don't know. He would have at least made it to WWE. He definitely would have been a bigger star had he not fucked himself over, for sure. Do I think Maxine will help Austin Theory in the long run? No. I think it's a nice little gimmick for him for now. I don't really think it changes his trajectory all that much. I feel like he's kind of... They've tried with him. It hasn't really worked. They haven't really fully tried with him as the issue. I don't see this making a big difference. How do I think Owen Hart would have done if that Triple H gimmick rumor is true? What is the cerebral assassin character, though? I've only ever really seen that as a nickname for Triple H. What does that even mean? Like, what was Triple H's character that Owen Hart would have gotten instead of Triple H? What does that even mean? Richie said, that power slap moment is the biggest moment of his career. How wild. Oh, it definitely is. Much bigger than anything he did in WWE or AEW, for sure. Daniel said, I have heard Owen was supposed to get the Game nickname, but I don't know if it was true. Was he supposed to become the Game or the cerebral assassin? There's a difference. And again, what would that even mean? If he became the Game, okay, he's not going out there spitting fucking a water bottle out of his mouth. You know, he's not spitting water out of his mouth like Triple H did. I don't really think it would have made much of a difference. I honestly, again, do not think Owen Hart would have won a world title in WWE had he stayed. He probably would have left soon after. Give me back shots. Marceau said, can we admit Heyman is washed? He's not washed, but he's not what he was on the mic. And his promos aren't what they used to be a lot of the time. And he's definitely overexposed. So washed, no. In his prime, no. Valuable, yes. Overexposed, definitely. Yeah, World Heavyweight Championship, nothing compared to the Power Slam moment. Yeah, he will live on in infamy for that shit. What an idiot. He looked like an absolute moron out there doing that shit. He got his shit rocked, like I said. Give Me Back Shot said, how do you think ECW would have done had they not lost Kurt and RVD's suspension and they would have centered around Punk like Heyman wanted? ECW still would not have lasted. In that form, had they kept RVD in Angle, ECW's little resurgence there in 06 would not have... Bro, they were already fucking doing Batista and Big Show for the World Heavyweight Championship in 2006, getting this is garbage chants from the Hammerstein Ballroom crowd. It was one of those Vince things that he thought was cute for like 5 minutes. He pushed it for a month. Had Angle stayed, had RVD not gotten suspended, had they not fucked over Punk's push, ECW still would have become the C show of WWE. It was not meant to last. It was not going to work. Give Me Back Shots. Marceau said, do you think Owen's death affected the Attitude Era at all? No. So he died in 99. The Attitude Era was already in full swing, and it continued to be hot for another few years. So, I mean, it affected the morale backstage. I mean, I'll tell you that. But affected the actual popularity of the Attitude Era or the company? No, it did not. What's the deal with Ilya? I have no idea. Hopefully it's a fucking visa issue, because if it's just the idea of... It's just the principle of not using him until they have something for him to do, that is complete bullshit. Do you see Shane making a return? No. Could he return down the road? Probably. I mean, he's in McMahon. He'll always have a spot in that company, but... I mean, they can induct him into the Hall of Fame. Should he come back for a match? No. He's fucking old at this point. He was washed the last time we saw him. He got hurt at WrestleMania. No. Please do not bring him back for a match. If he comes back for a return, sure, why not? But for an appearance, okay, whatever. For a match, no thanks. Hall of Fame induction would make sense eventually, but not anytime soon. They just inducted Triple H and then Stephanie. We don't need a fucking McMahon in every year. Fernando said, would a Taker or Shawn Michaels jump to WCW during the Monday Night Wars? When, though? I mean, it would have been a big deal, but when? When are we talking, you know? Like 2000? I mean, it would not have hurt WWE that much. They already had Stone Cold and Rock did WWE. They had their big stars. Those guys were not the guys of the Attitude Era. They were big stars, but they were not the guys. They would have done well there, and then they would have gone back to WWE. They would have been back. They would have been in WCW for like a fucking 2 weeks, because not literally, but like WCW ended up closing regardless. So if Shawn or Taker left to go there, they would have gone right back to WWE a few years later. Abu Sika said, what do you think, Jericho? Abu Sika, first of all, thank you for joining. Great to see you here in the chat. It's been a while. I hope you've been doing well. Abu Sika, the Bukaki Ghost himself. He's got a few questions here. He said, what do you think Jericho would have done had he stayed in WCW? Nothing. He was doing fucking jobber duty to Goldberg. I mean, he would have maybe won the United States Championship. Maybe he did. I don't remember. I don't think he ever won the U.S. title there. Maybe I'm wrong, but he would have stayed at the cruiserweight mid-card level. He would have maybe won a world title a la Jeff Jarrett in 2000. Maybe. But there's no guarantee of that. He absolutely made the right choice by leaving when he did. He said, do you think someone else would have gotten Austin level over in WWF had he stayed in WCW? That's a good question. If Steve Austin stayed in WCW, never went to WWE, would someone have gotten Austin level over? The only person that would have gotten that over was Rock. Would someone else instead of Steve Austin have gotten over? No. I think they would have just focused that whole period around The Rock instead. And only The Rock and no Steve Austin. Does Triple H still get to the main event without Shawn Michaels' influence? Yeah, probably. I do. I mean, first of all, Stephanie. Duh. But without the Click, he probably would have gotten to the main event a little bit slower than he did. But he still would have gotten there, I think. People rag on Triple H, but he was still good enough where, I mean, with the way that he looked and whatnot, he probably would have been pushed regardless. Just not as heavily as he was. Fernando said, is Jericho the best WCW defector from the Monday Night Wars? No. Well, Steve Austin. During the actual Monday Night Wars, yes. Steve Austin left WCW when? In 94, 95? So, he was the best person to come over from WCW because he became the biggest star from WCW. But during the actual Monday Night Wars, it would probably be Jericho, yes. Because who else was it? X-Pac? Big Show? It had to have been Jericho. Abu Sika said, how do you think Invasion would have went if the big names were there? It would have gone a lot better. Would not have been as much of a failure. It still would have ended with WCW dying and getting killed off by WWE. That was, again, same thing like I said with ECW. They would have given WCW their own show for a week and then moved on. It would have failed, and they would have gone back to doing what they were doing already. Vince was notorious for doing shit, being really high on something for like a month and then giving up on it. And then blaming, oh yeah, it's not working because people don't care. No, it's because you gave up on it. Now people don't care. His second question was, is it true Hogan was in talks to come back to WWF in the late 90s? I don't know that for a fact, but I believe that to be true. I have heard that. I don't know that for a fact, but yes. I think Hogan was originally supposed to come back a little bit earlier than he did in 02. A bigger star while in ECW, Punk or RVD? RVD. RVD was a bigger star for like a month. Punk had more success in ECW because he was ECW champ for longer. But RVD was fucking the ECW. RVD was the WWE champion in ECW. CM Punk was not. CM Punk went on to become a bigger star long term, obviously. But in ECW, RVD, even though he was only a big star for a month, was still a bigger star than CM Punk's, total time in ECW combined. Abu Sika said, who is a wrestler that you would love to have seen to see pick a hand, a la RVD/Taz? Love to see pick a hand. I don't know what that means. You'd have to elaborate. Are the Creed brothers still buried thanks to Damian Priest? Yeah, they were never the same after that Judgment Day thing from a few years ago. So yeah, they're not even on TV anymore. They were on TV briefly for the whole Grande Americano thing, and they disappeared again into the ether. They never recovered after that whole Heat thing with the Judgment Day, which is crazy. Abu Sika said, if Taz was taller, do you think Vince would have pushed him more? Yes, I do. If he was a bigger guy and Taz could wrestle the way that he did, he absolutely would have been a bigger star in WWE than he was. He had almost no success there, and he got hurt. But before he got hurt, if he was always going to get hurt, Taz absolutely would have been a bigger star while he was there. Abu Sika said, RVD told Taz to pick a hand, then he slapped him with it. Oh, I don't know. Who I would like to see do that, I don't know. I don't get the reference. I don't remember that, so I can't really speak to that. I'm not sure. The answer is I don't know. Fernando said, what if Sting was the third man, not Hogan? It still would have been a big deal, but not as big of a deal. It would not have worked as well as it did unless Hogan was the third man. I know Sting was like rumored to be the third man. They wanted him to do it after Hogan said no or whatever the fuck. It would have been huge. It would not have changed the industry as much as it did if it was Sting instead of Hogan. What if Samoa Joe never got hurt? Like, whatever? When? When would he have not gotten hurt? Samoa Joe's got hurt a bit, so you'd have to be specific with what window you're talking about. If you're saying, like, what if he never got hurt in WWE? What if he won a world title? No. Vince did not see Samoa Joe as a world champion. He fucking should have. He gave him a million opportunities as far as having him challenge for the title, and then he failed in every shot that he got. I think Vince always saw Samoa Joe at a certain level, and that was not going to change whether he was healthy or hurt. And Abu Sika said, do you think anything changes if Hogan didn't ruin Starrcade 97? No, I don't. I mean, maybe it would not have killed WCW as quick as it did. I mean, there were a lot of things that killed WCW. That whole show, they did a whole show on it a few years ago. I don't think it would have changed as drastically. So, no, maybe it would have killed WCW a little bit slower had they nailed that moment. But that was really just one little, like, nick in the armor of what was causing WCW to crumble at that time. What is Hogan's legacy without the Hollywood run? It's still a pretty big fucking legacy. I mean, Hogan was already the guy in WWE, successful for WrestleMania, making that whole boom happen in the 80s. Hogan, honestly, is probably even more known for that stuff than he was what he was doing in WCW, right? Like, the common fan, they don't know about Hollywood Hogan, you know what I mean? So, Hogan's legacy would still be almost untouchable for what he was doing in WWE alone before the NWO stuff even happened. Daniel said, do you think Ren Sinclair is going to turn on Kendall eventually? Unfortunately, yes. I do think she will. I think they're better together than apart, but that's probably where we're headed, unfortunately. Oh, you're saying during the Joe and Brock feud? Joe did not get hurt during the Joe and Brock feud, so that does not make sense. Joe and Brock feuded in the summer of 2017, and Joe lost to Brock. He was involved in a four-way with Brock at SummerSlam, also lost that, and that was it. And Joe did not get hurt until beginning of 2018, I think. I think he got hurt the beginning of 2018 because he missed Mania for like he was gone for a few months. So he didn't get hurt during the Brock feud, so that didn't really make much of a difference. He lost anyway. Abu Sika said, do you think Austin and Hogan would have been bigger than Hogan and Rock? Yes, I do, because Austin was a bigger star than Rock. Do I think it would have been as good of a match? I don't know. I feel like Rock and Hogan clicked better than Austin and Hogan would have. But would Austin and Hogan have been a bigger match? Yes, because Austin was a bigger star than Rock, at least box office-wise, in wrestling. Abu Sika said, is it true Umaga was WWE's answer to Samoa Joe in TNA? I don't know if that's ever been explicitly stated, but I would totally believe that. I think they would believe, oh yeah, okay, we couldn't get Samoa Joe. We can't have Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe was huge in Ring of Honor and TNA. Not that Vince really cared about that shit, but let's try Umaga out as our Samoa Joe. I could totally believe that. Abu Sika said, what do you think WWE looks like if Brock came back in 2007 like he was about to? Good question. They would have had another top star. You know, I think there would have been certain people that would have not gotten pushed. Cena was already established. That would not have changed. Batista was already established. Orton wasn't really the guy at that point. Orton, I think, would have been cooked. Orton, I think, would have had less success. Edge would not have gotten pushed as heavily as he was. Who else? Taker would have been fine. Triple H would have been fine. I think it really would have been Orton and Edge suffering had Brock come back when he did. Richie said Joe should have gotten the Rocket strapped him at Great Balls of Fire. Yes, he should have been the one to beat Brock for the belt, albeit even if briefly. Even if it was brief. They did not pull the trigger, and that is bullshit. Richie also said Brock should have done the job. Just run it back the following month and have Brock win it back if you really wanted him to keep the damn title. I agree. Yes, that's what I just said. I said the same thing. I completely agree. But they wanted to keep the belt on Brock, so it meant more when Roman dethroned him. Like, anyone gave a shit. Who cares? Samoa Joe really was hot at that point. They should have pulled the trigger, and they did not. Abu Sika said, do you think 04 is an underrated, forgotten year because it's Benoit heavy? No, because there were also a lot of garbage elements of 04. I mean, I think there were elements of 02 and 03 that were better. There were elements of 05 that were better. And it's not just because of Benoit. I mean, 04 also had JBL's big push, which he made the most of, but like, it's not as if he was churning out great matches as WWE champion. And they had to rely on JBL as the main event star because Brock left, Goldberg left. The Triple H ruthless aggression shit was at an all-time bad. I mean, wasn't the Katie Vick thing in 04? Maybe that was 03. No, that was 02, actually, I think. But anyway, some of the Evolution shit they were doing at that point was not great. They kind of neutered Orton for a while there as a babyface. No, I don't think it's forgotten about because it's Benoit heavy. Benoit was actually among the better parts of that year. There aren't a lot of other great elements of 04 beyond that. I thought Brock wanted to, but it wasn't his call, Daniel said. I don't know if Brock was petitioning to lose to Samoa Joe. If he really wanted it, he could have gotten it done. But he definitely liked working with Joe. I know that for a fact. I think that's been confirmed. I think Brock would have had no issue losing to Samoa Joe if I had to take a guess. Fernando said, who did more for TNA, Sting, Kurt Angle, or Christian? Great question. Kurt Angle. Sting was already there. Sting was big for TNA. He was also there longer than Angle, I believe. Actually, I don't know if that's true. I don't think it is. I think Angle was there longer. Regardless, Angle had better matches than Sting. I don't know, man. Angle was like the first one that came over from WWE that's like, holy shit. Like the big star from WWE's coming over. This is a massive deal. Sting coming in was big, but I don't know. It's not like TNA was ever really put on the map because of Sting. I mean, they were established more because of Sting. Sting was more reliable than Kurt, but Kurt was just a bigger draw. And he was more in that main event scene, I feel like, than Sting ever was. So I'll go Kurt. And Christian was great, too. Abu Sika said, who do you think suffered the most because of Vince's insistence on Roman? I don't know. What, in like the 2015 to 2020 period? Definitely Samoa Joe. Braun Strowman would have been a bigger star. Rollins, Strowman, and Joe, I think, are the top three. Those guys definitely were not getting, the opportunities, as many opportunities as they should because of the insistence on Roman Reigns to become the guy. Is Evolution an overrated group? Randy Batista were big stars, but after that, the group was boring. Or the group was boring in general, you're saying. They're not overrated. I do think there were parts of Evolution that worked. A lot of it was boring. I don't know if anyone will sit here and say Evolution's like the greatest group of all time. So they might be slightly overrated. It's not as if they were going in there having like the great stories that the Bloodline did. I think the Bloodline overall is a better group than Evolution. Evolution made more stars, but the Bloodline was just way better for television from 2020 through 2024 than Evolution. Evolution kind of ruined Raw there for a while, mostly because of Triple H. Fernando said, who hurt TNA the most? Hogan, Jeff Jarrett, Kevin Nash, or Dixie? Definitely not Kevin Nash. Hogan. Hogan came in and really did nothing and wasted so much of their money. It's either him or Dixie. Probably Hogan, though. TNA was so worse off after bringing in Hulk Hogan. It's crazy. Abu Sika said, is it true someone a part of Toy Story, admitted in an interview that the Bonnie era is a trilogy? They did not confirm that. They just said that they could complete her story in Toy Story 6 if they make one, which they will. So yes, I don't know if they originally intended for it to be a trilogy, but I think they're thinking that way now. All right, if that's the case, then sure. If you have a reason to make another one, then okay. I don't know how they could top the last two, but 5 was also great, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Richie said Angle's in-ring prime years were spent in TNA. I think he definitely had helped get eyes on the product for sure. Oh, definitely. I still say his WWE run was better, but the TNA run, his in-ring prime years were in TNA. You were correct. I would say it helped highlight guys like Sting and, of course, AJ and Joe. Definitely right. It helped benefit those guys tremendously and bring the best out of them in the ring. What's the legacy of Vince Russo? I think people will always look at Vince Russo as being the guy that kind of helped kill WCW and also played a factor in kind of writing garbage television for TNA. I mean, he did a lot of positive stuff too, but I think that's the biggest part of his legacy, that he can never really fully wipe away that stench. And he also lives in the past as far as kind of riding off his coattails from 20, 30 years ago, so that also doesn't really help. Does Batista still elevate if they went with Mark Jindrak? Does Batista still become a big star, as big of a star as he did? No. I'm going to say no. It's not as if he was this prime young guy that had so many years. If they didn't pull the trigger on Batista when they did, he was already older at that point. I don't think it ever would have happened. He probably would have been a fine mid-card guy, but that's about it. He said, imagine in 08-09, they reunited Evolution with Randy Batista back to being Triple H, back to being Triple H's lackeys. Like you're saying with Main Event Mafia now, or with, not Main Event Mafia, with the Bloodline, that would have been crazy. But to be fair, though, you're comparing apples to oranges. Randy and Batista were not fucking Jay and Jimmy. Jimmy is not Randy or Batista. So it's not even remotely the same. I know that's what you're saying with where they are with the Bloodline, but that is true, but it's not the same thing. Jay also is not Randy or Batista. They would have never done that. Randy and Batista would have never agreed to it either. Although they kind of did do that in 2014 briefly, but not quite to the extent of what we're talking about. Fernando said, is Seth to Roman what Macho Man was to Hogan? Better workers, but always considered second best. Yeah, it's actually a great comparison. You're right. Toy Story 6, 7. We made that joke before, Richie, but it never gets it never gets old because it's true. It's probably what the next movie will be. I'm shocked that Scary Movie, for all the awful references they had in that movie about like 6, 7 and shit like that, they didn't call that movie Scary Movie 6, 7. Abu Sika said, well, they keep making Toy Stories as long as they keep making a boatload of cash, and the key players are still alive and sound like them. Yeah, but Tom Hanks and what's his name? And also, there's so many years in between each of the Toy Story movies that they really probably could only afford to make a 6, and that's it. I don't think they can make a 7. Like, genuinely speaking, if they end the Bonnie trilogy with 6, Tom Hanks and the other, who plays Buzz? Oh my God, I don't remember his name off the top of my head. The Santa Claus. They'll probably be dead. I'm going to be honest, they're probably going to be dead or just too old to do it. So if they make a next one, if they make a 6, they should have been done after 3. But if they do a 6, they should end after that. I don't know if they will, if they keep making this much money. Richie said, Batista's ginormous physique. I thought you were going to say something else. Batista's ginormous physique was definitely a benefit towards him getting that monster push, LOL. Definitely. It was also right place, right time with being aligned with Triple H and being the right player in a certain story with the Evolution and whatnot. There were a lot of factors there. Tim Allen. Thank you, guys. Tim Allen. Yeah, Tim Allen and Tom Hanks might be dead. Tim the Toolmaker Taylor. Yeah, right. From Home Improvement, right? Can El Idolo become AEW World Champion sometime in the near future? Near future? No. In the future? Yeah. I actually do think he can. Andrade's last year in AEW has been good enough, and it has exceeded my expectations as far as how they've used him, to where I do think he has what it takes to be AEW World Champion, yes. Near future, I don't know. I feel like that belt will be locked up around Ospreay and Omega and those guys for a while. MJF. No time soon, but in the future, yes. And I think he will. Daniel said it was different in 2014. They were at least presented as equals, though I know Triple H was CEO. Yes, you're correct. They were not lackeys for Triple H then. They kind of acted like his lackeys a little bit, but it wasn't remotely the same as what we're seeing with the Bloodline right now. You were correct. Tim the Toolman Taylor. Thank you, Daniel. Abu Sika said, who do I think's views on wrestling are outdated? I think Cornette makes a lot of great points. I also think he hams up a lot of negative stuff because he knows that it gets a lot of attention. I think he is slightly outdated. Bret Hart, I mean, a lot of the old heads are very outdated with certain stuff, But Brett makes a lot of great points. I think Cornette makes a lot of great points on a lot of stuff. And sometimes the style of AEW that he doesn't like, that's just what it is now. You just got to get over it. There's certain things he rags on that are correct. But there's other things that it's like, dude, you just got to get over it, move on. It's not that big of a deal. Who else? There's definitely other people whose opinions I don't really give a fuck about because I'm like, you're just speaking from an era of like 40, 50 years ago. Those are the ones that come to mind first, though. Richie said, get your mind out of the gutter, pal. It's not me. It's the fans. It's the people. It's the wrestling fans that make me want to think that because it gets brought up so often. Abu Sika said, would you ever do a collab with the Solid Monster? I would, and we haven't done like a collab, but I've interviewed him a couple times on the channel, once in 2014 and again in 2024. So I guess that kind of counts as a collab. I don't know what else we would do aside from an interview, but Solid Monster is great. I listen to his content all the time, obviously. Do you think TK's dad will ever pull the plug on AEW? No, but if he were, it would be no time soon. Why would the dad pull the plug? I mean, if they're doing well, I mean, really the only thing that would kill AEW is if they don't have television, at which point they would pull the plug. But as long as they have television and they're doing well enough, they're not going to pull the plug willingly. What is your favorite city to watch wrestling? Good question. Chicago has always been up there. Richie said that this chat keeps censoring him. The chat will censor you. I will not. For some reason, let me see. Let me do this. There we go. Okay. I changed the chat to all chat and not just top chat, Richie. So yes, Batista's ginormous monster emoji there. That is exactly what I'm thinking of. Thank you for putting that in the chat, Richie. He just texted me, so that's how I got his attention. I don't know why. Sometimes the chat will do that. I don't know, but the funny thing is you put in the fucking emoji. You didn't even put in the word itself, which is hilarious. But anyway, yeah, Chicago, great city to watch wrestling in. What else? Vegas. I love going to Vegas and watching wrestling there. Vegas, Chicago, Madison Square Garden, but not because I love New York City, just because it's closer to get to. Or Boston. I like watching shows in Boston. So Boston, MSG, Vegas, and Chicago. Got to go see the Solo interview, LOL. Yeah, the one from 2014 is fucking old because it's from 12 years ago. It's non-video. It's an audio interview. It was one of the first episodes of WrestleRant Radio I ever did. I think RJ was on the show at that point, but I don't think he took part in the interview. So we interviewed him 12 years ago. I interviewed him again almost exactly 10 years to the day. 2 years ago. That was on video. That is here on the channel. We talked a lot about House of Glory before their upcoming show that weekend, over Mania weekend. So, yeah, Solo's great. Is TKO in the black financially? I don't know. I am not sure. I would need some more metrics to be able to tell whether that's the case or not. They're definitely not in the red, I'll tell you that. What has been the most dead crowd you've ever been a part of? Probably any show I've been to in fucking Connecticut. There's been a lot of dead crowds for Raws that I've been to, especially in CT. Can't think of the most dead crowd I've ever been to, though. I'd have to really think about it. They didn't call it the Batista bomb for nothing, Richie said. You're right. Daniel said, chat censoring Richie. Meanwhile, Graham calls Trevor a piece of shit and says, fuck Trevor left and right. Yeah, I guess I could say whatever I want, but you guys can't, which is crazy. Richie said, do you think Kendall Gray has a glass ceiling if she doesn't figure out some kind of character or gimmick? Yes, she does. I think not enough people are talking about that. She's improving as a talker. I really don't think people are like, oh my God, she's the female Chad Gable. She's going to fucking main event WrestleMania. She won't. She's a good worker, but unless she can figure out the charisma part, she will only get so far. I mean, come on, man. There's people, like, you could say what you want about certain women and certain men and stars and whatever, but, like, if they have Trick Williams is not a great worker, really, at all. He's decent, he's good, but he's not great. And if it doesn't matter, though. Trick could eventually main event WrestleMania because he's got that charisma. They, especially in WWE, value that way more than the in-ring stuff. So, yes, not enough people are talking about that. She has to get past that. Fernando, I think we talked about this last week. We said better hometown reaction, Punk in Chicago or Bret Hart in Canada. I'm going to go Punk in Chicago because I can think of more moments where Punk had bigger moments in Chicago than Bret Hart did in Canada. Bret Hart in Canadian Stampede was massive, but Punk's had that reaction in Chicago multiple times. Abu Sika said, has there ever been a thought of adding a third member to WrestleRant Radio? Permanently, no. No. We did have guests on back in the day, especially when we did the show in college. We would do interviews or just the third analyst on for the episode. So it was a three-man panel many, many times. You can go back and check the archives here on the channel on, Spotify and shit and whatever, wherever the podcast can be found. A lot of the episodes between 2014 and 2015 were three-man panels. When RJ was on the show consistently, at that point during that period, we had a lot of three-man panels, but that third person was never on every week. It was never the same person every week. Connecticut crowd is as dead as the pizza. You better watch your fucking mouth, Daniel. You're going to end up in Trevor Purgatory if you shit on our pizza like that. The crowds are sure. The pizza, you better watch your fucking mouth. You never want to go full Trevor. Let's see. Richie said, genuinely could not pick Kendall out from a crowd unless she has a particular look, which she does not. No lies detected, Richie. I'm not saying she has to be drop dead gorgeous in order to be successful. I'm agreeing with you as far as she looks like she has a very basic look. She's a pretty girl. She has a basic look. But I don't know, man. I just feel like she has to have something else that stands out about her. Like Bayley Bayley has a better look, I think, than Kendall, in my opinion. But even Bayley, at least she had the hugger character that's like, oh my God, this connects on a deeper level. She's just a great wrestler. All right. I mean, you could say the same thing about Chad Gable. But Chad Gable has a ceiling. I don't know, man. I don't know. Chad Gable's also not a 7-time world champion. And people are thinking that Kendall will be. I don't know. I agree, though. Surprised you're still live, Eric said. I'm ending soon. We are going almost 3 hours here today, which is crazy, but I do got to get going now. I got to get going very soon. Thank you for all the great questions. I'll be sure to like the video while we're still live here. What are your thoughts on Little Yachty long term? It will not last long term. I think it's fine for now. It's entertaining. It can't last for more than a year or two. I think even that's probably pushing it. He's going to get annoying or useless eventually. We're not there yet. I think for now, though, it works. He will not be around for fucking 5 years like Heyman is with Roman Reigns or something, Richie said, at least she doesn't look like another Tiffany Stratton, but still. Yeah, they don't need more blondes or whatever, but I don't know. There's other women in NXT that stand out to me, even from a look standpoint. Ren Sinclair to me looks more like a star than Kendall Gray. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I think Ren looks more like a star. Lola Vice, Callie Armstrong. Who else? Who else is even in it? Jada Parker. I think all of those women have a better look than Kendall, but again, that's just my opinion. I'm officially throwing my name in the hat for the third man, Fernando said. Abu Sika said, has there ever been a thought of discontinuing #AskGSM or WrestleRant Radio? I hope not. In general, there probably has been in the past. I did stop doing the show. I've said this before. I said this last week. I stopped doing the show for about 6 months when I went to college in 2013. WrestleRant Radio started when I was in college, but when I was in college, we stopped doing hashtag for a few months when I first started school. But then we started doing it again by second semester, and I haven't really stopped since, for the most part. So, other than that, I never really put much thought into stopping the show as a weekly series because we've been doing it weekly now for over a decade, so why would I stop? In WrestleRant Radio, same thing. I never put any serious thought in ever stopping the show. When eventually, I don't know, I'm not saying eventually it will stop, but if there ever comes a point where I know I can't do it anymore or it just doesn't make sense scheduling-wise or whatever, I will always, I think, do both shows in some form or fashion. There's been a lot of stuff I've done here on the channel that I've either taken breaks from or have stopped permanently just because I just don't have the time. Those are those are the fucking flagships of this channel. We will always do those in some form or fashion here on the channel. And I like the fact that we can do them live. Richie quoting Tiffany by saying, LGT slaughter. Tiffany, I'm not a Mark Stratton. No, she's not a Mark at all. Abu Sika said, do you think Tiffany has suffered at all for publicly admitting she wants to leave before 30? No. Maybe with fans. Fans might resent that, but they can get the fuck over it. At least she's honest. That's not even confirmation she will leave before 30. She has to have at least offers waiting for her. She might not. She doesn't seem like a great actress, so who knows? Fernando said, do we have any book reviews coming? Yes, the next book review I will have here on the channel is Natty's book that came out last year. I started doing the Audible audiobook version of it. I haven't listened to it in like 2 months just because I've been so fucking busy. But when I do resume it at some point, that will be the next book I review. I don't know when it will be up, though. Would I do an MMA-style gimmick if I was a wrestler? I know you're saying that because I've done MMA before, but probably not. I don't think anyone would believe me if I did that as a fucking gimmick on television. It would work better than being like, oh, I'm a powerhouse, because I'm fucking not. I think, honestly, a better gimmick for me if I was a wrestler would, one, I would be a manager or a GM. But if I was a wrestler doing something like, I don't know, a writing gimmick, that sounds very 90s WWE, but I don't know, where I could do like the writer's block and like fucking, my name is Graham and I love to write instead of my name is Finley and I love to write, or fight rather. Anyway, does Tatum look like a star? Yeah, Tatum has a better look than Kendall Gray. I think Tatum's great. How did I get in with Bleacher Report? I sent in an application when I was a freshman in high school. They accepted it. That was 16 years ago, and I've been working for them ever since. That is as simple as that. Long story short, that is how I started with the site 16 years ago. You're doing hashtag and WrestleRant radio till you're 90, pal. Richie said, till he's 90. Fernando said the same thing. What am I, Deadpool? What am I, Wolverine? Are you Deadpool and I'm Wolverine? Honestly, though, you're probably not wrong. I will do this shit until I'm fucking dead, whenever that might be. Abu Sika said, do you think the people around Benoit were enablers? To a certain extent, because they allowed it to get that far, yeah. You can't tell me some of those people did not know what was going on. Come on. I'm not saying they're all enablers, but some of them probably were. Is Chelsea on the way up to the top? She's definitely on her way up. Will she ever win a world title? Probably. I think she will. I think she's on the right track. Do I think she'll be a perennial main event player? No, I don't. Do I think she can win a women's world title? I do. Will she hold the belt for long? Probably not. But I do think she's on the right track going. I don't think she's going this way. I think she's trending this way, which is good. Thoughts on Conor McGregor? From what I've heard, he's a piece of shit. Is he not was he not accused of something like the SA or something a while back? And he was found guilty? First of all, that's not good. I thought he was entertaining like a decade ago when he was doing interviews and shit, but he's fallen off hard since then. The fight was embarrassing this past weekend from what I heard and saw. He's fucking washed. You talk about washed, he's washed. He just seems like an asshole that, MMA, I don't know how big the buy rate was for that show. If they even do buy rates anymore for pay-per-views for UFC, I don't know. He just seems like an asshole. And just someone that, I don't know, the UFC doesn't need him at this point. Fernando said, what if Conor McGregor became a wrestler in WWE instead of UFC? I think he only would have gotten so far because he's not a big guy. He's a great talker, but I think going from UFC to WWE would have made more sense. Just starting out in WWE, I don't know how far he would have gotten because I don't know how good he would have been. Yes, I've been doing Bleacher Report since high school. Since I started high school, which is nuts. Yeah. Richie's not getting censored now. He said full-on grape, actually. And you know what he means instead of grape. For Conor McGregor, that is. That's what I've heard, so yeah. No real thoughts on that. If that's true, and it seems like it is, that's terrible. And he should not have been allowed to come back. Do I see Tatum getting called up at Saturday night's main event? This Saturday, no. Getting called up to work with Lyra soon, yes. I don't think it'll be Saturday, though. That would be cool if it was. I think she has to finish out in NXT first against Nikki Blackheart. Maybe that happens tonight. I guess we'll see. Daniel said, never would have thought when we interacted on Twitter all those years ago, I would have actually met you in person one day, LOL. Not because of you. I just didn't actually anticipate meeting Twitter folk in person. Same here. You or anyone, Daniel. I completely agree. I'm glad we were able to make it happen. After interacting for almost a decade on Twitter, you never really know until you know. So once I started meeting a few people from Twitter many years ago, I'm like, yeah, this would be cool to do more often. And thankfully, it's turned into a thing I've been able to do at a lot of shows. Richie said, the whole report is rough with how the victim ended up. That's terrible. Talking about Conor McGregor. Richie said, throw that piece of shit in jail, but it doesn't surprise me. Dana smacked his wife and still does business with John Jones, another abuser. Yeah, that's just, it's business stuff. If these people are valuable enough or big enough names, they will always come back. Whether it's Conor, Dana, John Jones, people in WWE, we see that all the time. Hogan, it wasn't as bad with Hogan, but Hogan is still pretty bad. If these people have a name or make money for these people, they will be brought back. No doubt about it. Hell, I would take $30 million for 1 minute fight. Hey, so would I, Eric. If that's how much money he made, that's insane. Got to meet the GOAT Daniel one day. Hopefully you guys have your paths crossed for sure. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. Hopefully it happens soon enough. And I'll be there to see it. And we can all do like the NWO fucking Too Sweet Shield and fist bump or whatever it might be. But on that note, guys, we're over 3 hours in, almost 3 hours in. I got to get going. This has been a very long but successful, fun stream as always. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to run through the housekeeping stuff real quick before we get on out of here, including shouting out our channel members, Alexis, Miss Mon Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, Daniel Malcolm, at I'm Quarter on X, DJ Swerve1, at Swerve1 on IG, Mr. Marceau, at RJ_Marceau on X, John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube, Richie Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube, and Average Grunt at GruntWrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. More information down below in the description box. Be sure to like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications for every time we upload new content and every time we're live, typically Tuesdays and Thursdays for hashtag AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio, respectively. If you want to send in a question to this show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. Also include your question on the wall. If not, on the post I usually put up on Monday nights on Facebook. And last but not least, include your question down below in the comment section on this very video after the video is done processing, of course, and we'll include your question in next week's edition. And that's about it, guys. Like I said, we will be live again on Thursday for WrestleRant Radio, myself and Mr. Marceau, previewing Saturday night's main event, but also giving an on-site report from Dynamite, which we will be live attending tomorrow in Boston. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. Eric talking about Gable Steveson, even though he was never convicted. Gable Steveson also has got an interesting past. And Richie wants me to stream for another 20 more hours. I'd be dead before I make it to that point, especially with all the shit I still have to do tonight. But at any rate, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'll see you hopefully on Thursday for WrestleRant Radio. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. I will catch your ass down the road.